is Adelaide's FIVEAA.
A late shower or two, a high of 28. With the 6 o'clock news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. terraintamer.com.
The upcoming federal budget will include a shake-up to the way we access medication. Here's Georgia Conde.
People stand to save time and money with GPs allowed to prescribe 2 months' supply of common medicines rather than 30 days. The changes affect more than 320 products, including medications for heart disease, cholesterol, Crohn's and hypertension. Script holders could save around $180 each year and won't unnecessarily clog up GP appointments. The Pharmacy Guild is concerned making the medicines more accessible will lead to shortages and hoarding. It's also worried community pharmacies will take a financial hit.
Politicians from all sides have joined advocates, community and business leaders and academics in signing an open letter calling for a substantial increase to job seeker payments. The letter, spearheaded by ACOS, is urging the Prime Minister to raise unemployment payments to address structural injustice and increased deprivation. ACOS Chief Cassandra Goldie says 335 people have signed the letter, including more than a dozen sitting MPs.
As well as many former politicians and some of the leading economists in Australia. This is an unprecedented level of consensus about what's needed in this budget, and we are urging the government to act.
The government will spend $4 billion developing a missile manufacturing industry in Australia. It's among the recommendations made in the Defence Strategic Review. The money will be used to fast-track the purchase of long-range strike missiles and have the ability to produce some weapons locally. Fire Corps investigators are piecing together what happened in the hours leading up to a house fire at Seaton. Police have charged a man with assault after being called to Green Avenue, where a woman was inside the home. The 29-year-old's recovering in hospital. A 36-year-old man was located on a roof nearby. US President Joe Biden has released a campaign video confirming he's running for re-election as president in 2024. Although he's the oldest president in the country's history, he's asking voters to look past his age and focus on finishing the job he started 2 years ago. In the social media video, he expresses his belief in his country and people.
Because I know America. I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity. That we're a nation where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal.
American singer Harry Belafonte has died from heart failure at his home in Manhattan. He's famous for hits including Banana Boat.
That banana till the morning come. Daylight come and we want go home.
The beloved artist was also a powerful civil rights activist. He broke racial barriers and stormed the charts in the 1950s. And Prince William has secretly settled a phone hacking claim against Rupert Murdoch's media group. Court documents reveal the future heir to the British throne received a large sum of money in 2020. The papers were revealed in a court case in which his brother Prince Harry is suing Mr Murdoch's UK newspaper arm for invasion of privacy. Now turning to FIVEAA Sport.
It's nearly tax time. Act now for immediate delivery on Mitsubishi Triton from Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Let's start with football. Collingwood coach Craig McRae says the record crowd at yesterday's Anzac Day match helped fuel the team's extraordinary last quarter comeback over Essendon. The Pies, trailing by 28 points at the final change, booted 7 goals to none in the final term to run out 13-point winners in front of a crowd of more than 95,000.
I've got to say to the record crowd out there, the Collingwood supporters, thank you for your energy, because you can just see the players just growing in confidence from the energy from the crowd, so thank you.
It was amazing, no question about that. Tasmania, meantime, is a step closer towards securing a standalone team in the AFL competition. The federal government is expected to announce funding of around $240 million for a new stadium. To soccer now, Wolverhampton has taken a massive step towards avoiding relegation after securing a 2-0 win at home against Crystal Palace. Wolves sealing the result with a penalty in stoppage time.
It's Neves against Johnston. And it's 2-0 Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Audio there thanks to Optus. In other games this morning, it's close to full time with Aston Villa 1-0 up against Fulham, while Leeds is also 1-0 to the good against Leicester with about 20 minutes to play. And there was one game in the Suncorp Super Netball League yesterday with the Sunshine Coast Lightning beating Collingwood 65-50. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
See any issue firsthand with AutoCam. Real-time video, direct to you from your Automaster's technician.
A late shower or two and 28. Showers easing tomorrow, 23. Showers on Friday, 19. And a shower or two Saturday, 17. At the moment, 23. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Test drive the incredible Cherry Emotive 5 today at Cherry Glen Osmond from 33k drive away. Go Cherry.
6 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday, the 26th of April. Trust you had an excellent Anzac Day. What a magnificent day weather-wise it was. Some great services around Australia in the Anzac Cove, Gallipoli, and of course in France as well. Amazing pictures on the news last night. Hope it was a good day for you. We're going to catch up with Libby from Vale Park. She called us on Monday talking about her dad marching in the Anzac Day march here in the city. We'll talk to her about that when she comes on after 7 o'clock today. It's a Wednesday morning. It takes some adjustment because it feels like we sort of came out of a weekend. But being a Wednesday, we're going to go around the courts with Sean Fuster at 7:30. The host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch, will join us. We've got the SMEG rumour file this morning. You've got a whisper on something, a little bit of a tidbit of news. I think sometimes the standard of the SMEG rumour file is, some of the listeners have said it, cracking standard. Some big news stories have broken during that. We'll talk about that over the course of the morning. And also, big story in amateur football, and after that horrific tragedy in the weekend where a young 20-year-old boy died after an on-field collision. Discussion now that perhaps the Amateur Football League should look at having a concussion passport. We'll be talking more about that too over the course of the morning. David Penberthy, good morning to you.
Good morning, listeners. Good morning, Will. Wonderful, wonderful Anzac Day yesterday. Great to see the crowds back in such big numbers. I was talking to Mum. She likes to go down to the one at Mitcham at the Soldiers Memorial Gardens there just off Belair Road, and she said it was absolutely packed and blessed by the weather we were. Looking forward to talking to Libby. And it was interesting too, after a chat with the RSL about blokes very much in their later years. I think you can fairly call someone who's 101 in their later years, who moved from the country to the city, often for health reasons or to be looked after by their younger children, who marching here in Adelaide for the first time. So it's going to be it's always an interesting chat.
With the years, it doesn't diminish how moving watching like grandchildren march with their grandparents or people just marching with the medals of someone in their family.
Yeah,
the whole thing is very moving to see. It's funny. We've got to cherish this moment. Sorry, we've got to cherish this moment in history too. Because seeing these guys that are in their 100 years old or well into their advanced years in 90s, or seeing guys march with the banner of their squadron or their battalion, and where once there were hundreds, there are now one or two. This is the last time we're going to get to see this generation of people in these next few years. So we've got to cherish it.
The thing about that too is thinking about our family friend Bill Schmidt, who was a POW and in Singapore at Changi, and ended up becoming the head of the Prisoners of War Association. When Uncle Bill died, his death itself wasn't surprising in a sort of physical sense. But at his funeral, the thing that was quite overawing about it is the contribution that these men made in their lives. And you think about, how most lives are measured. You've got a family, you're proud of your family, you love your family, you do stuff for them, you get a job, you try to do your job well, you try to accumulate some, a nest egg that in the form of a house or some savings that you can bequeath to your kids when you go. But these guys, the added thing they did was they put their lives on the line to stop Australia from being invaded by a utterly belligerent foreign fascist power. To save our way of life. He came back from Changi, he weighed 44 kilograms. And this is talking to some of those blokes, the best thing I ever did as a journo when I was in Canberra was go to Hellfire Pass for an Anzac service. And the amazing thing about so many of those blokes and it's almost a bit like that movie about the rugby team in Paraguay that crash lands in the Andes. And after they survived that, they wanted to achieve extraordinary things in their professional lives. So many of the blokes that I met on that tour with John Howard to inaugurate the special museum that's there at the cutting at Hellfire Pass, which is the site where they actually had the dawn service. We had to march down into the cutting. Wow. Like every hair standing up on the back of your neck when you heard the last post down there. And at 5:30 in the morning, it's already 34 degrees and 99% humidity. You think these blokes were using hand chisels in the mid-afternoon to cut through that rock so the train could get through. But you know, these guys, you talk to them and they all had their demons from it, but they also massively had their lives together as well, and a lot of them had done extraordinary things.
It would give you a unique sense of perspective, I imagine. You know, your bad day at your place of work, on the tools, whatever you're doing, 25 years later, is not going to seem as bad as the day that the person next to you is going to see it as them having not been in a death-defying situation in their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It would change your perspective on absolutely everything.
You wouldn't waste as much time either. You wouldn't just sit around doing nothing. You'd be a doer. You'd be on the go. You'd want to be, you want to be active because you know what it's like to lose all that. Want to be on the cusp of losing all that.
Yeah,
seeing
so it doesn't surprise me to hear that, given what you've been through, what you've seen, what you've endured, what you know you can survive too.
Speaking of age, is 86 too old to be the leader of the free world?
Will he be 80? Yeah, he will be 86. Wait, he's 80 now. Well, I think
he'll be 82 when he runs.
You made the best point of this. Joe Biden officially announcing overnight. We'll play his video a little bit later that he'll be running for US president again. Not a surprise because he dropped it in an interview the other day, which we're not 100% sure he knew was going live to air. But anyway, the official announcement did come overnight, 4 years to the day that he announced he was running initially. Your point was the best. We shouldn't talk about the number. We should talk about capacity. And I actually think in his case, 86 is too old. Yeah. But not in everyone's case.
No. Well,
there'll be plenty of 86-year-olds who are fine.
How often do you meet someone and they go, I'm 73, and you go, mate, you're not in your 70s. Don't be stupid. You know, people who have their youth belies their years. But he's I'd describe him right now as an old 81-year-old. He's 81 at the moment, isn't he?
He's 80.
He's 80, okay. Yeah, so he's going to be 82 by the time the election comes around, so meaning he'll be 86 by the end of it. It's funny, people talk about Reagan's second term. Reagan was elected in, 1980? So 84 to 88, Ronald Reagan. They used to say that in meetings, his staff would hand him little flashcards telling him how he should react to different ideas, even different sort of conversational markers with people he was meeting in a sort of diplomatic setting where there was nothing writing on it, because he became so vague and almost doddery that he'd misread people or forget who they were. So they had these little cheat sheets they kept handing to him. I always thought that criticism was massively inflated by Reagan's detractors on the Democrat side of politics and in the liberal news media. But
do you know how old he was when his presidency ended?
I would guess Reagan was, when his presidency ended, I'm guessing he would have been 76.
He was 77.
Yeah, right, okay, yeah.
So he was, that was a chief criticism, and he was almost a full decade younger than what Joe Biden will be at the end of his presidency. There's an interesting piece that's out overnight regarding historic polling data on the perception of age to the average American voter. And it does play a role. I think most people acknowledge they don't think it should play a role, but invariably it does, and has with Reagan, as you mentioned, and some others too, when things like health, Jimmy Carter, becomes a bit of an issue.
Yeah. Well, you think about it too, just in a crude numerical sense, Joe Biden holds a record in American political history. No one has ever got a higher vote as a presidential candidate than Joe Biden and he needed it because the bloke who got the second highest ever vote as an American presidential candidate was Donald Trump at the last election. This stunningly huge turnout because so many people in the middle went, geez, there's a lot riding on this.
Incidentally, Donald Trump, the third oldest president to have ended his term as president. So if he,
but of those people who voted for Biden last time, considering how close the result was, you only need 5% of them to change their minds and go, oh, geez, he's looking a bit doddery, he's looking a bit past it. Do you think 1 in 20 people agree with the assertion that Joe Biden's a bit doddery and past it?
I don't think that's unreasonable to suggest. The other thing is you don't need them to change their mind. You just need to sap their enthusiasm to turn up on the day.
Well,
and he loses the election.
Of the voluntary voting.
They don't need to suddenly think Trump's a good idea. They just go, I don't know about this. Am I going to line up for 5 hours from make sure this guy gets another 4 years? That's the danger, I think, for Joe Biden. 17 after 6. We'll talk more about it later and play you that video.
As always, folks, let us know what you think. Ping us a text on the Dutton's text line, 0448 08 1395. We've got one here already. I really like this text. Graham, I couldn't agree with you more, mate. I thought this was so impressive. Darcy Moore's speech at the MCG was a credit to him and the sort of thing that makes me proud to be Australian. It was a beautifully worded speech off the cuff by Darcy Moore. Yeah, give us a call too, folks, 8223 0000.
Australia's greatest sporting rivalry is back with the 2023 AMPOL State of Origin Series. Witness the game's best players square off in the ultimate fight for state pride as two of the greatest coaches, Freddie Fittler and Billy Slater, go head-to-head. The Maroons' dominant performance last year saw them reclaim the shield, so the Blues will be out to deny Queensland another series win. AMPOL State of Origin kicks off Wednesday, May 31 at Adelaide Oval. Unreal. Secure your seats today at nrl.com/tickets.
Adelaide Direct Stationers is more than just stationery. We're one of SA's largest suppliers of tech products, washroom products, PPE, workplace health and safety equipment, office furniture, food, snacks, beverages and much more. We have all your office and business needs in one place, with free next day delivery on orders over $50, plus same day 2-hour express delivery. Adelaide Direct Stationers, serving SA's largest businesses and a preferred government supplier. Visit adelaidedirectstationers.com.au.
It isn't waste until you waste it. That's the catch cry from an amazing company called Eco Waste Solutions. Eco Waste Solutions is a hard waste recycling facility, not a dump, located at Williston. They'll take everything except hazardous waste and food scraps. They'll take your waste bricks, your mattresses, tyres, soil, timber, steel, concrete and more. Plus, if you pre-sort your load, you receive a 50% discount on disposal fees. Google Eco Waste Solutions Williston for more.
The all-new 2.5-litre Nissan X-Trail has been awarded the 2023 Drive Car of the Year Best Medium SUV. And with Nissan Future Value Business Plus, a new fleet finance solution for small to medium businesses, you can drive the award-winning Nissan X-Trail ST for competitive weekly repayments that include the cost of scheduled servicing for the loan term. Visit nissan.com.au/business plus or contact your local Nissan dealer. Approved ABN registered small to medium fleet applicants of Nissan Financial Services. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
The store-wide savings spectacular is now on at Specsavers. Get any pair with standard multifocals for just $199. Choose from all the frames and all the big designer names, like Tommy Hilfiger, Country Road, Ted Baker, Carlos and Patty, and more. But don't miss out, limited time only. So to save on multifocals, should have gone to Specsavers. Conditions apply.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
The Cherry Motor 5 offers state-of-the-art driving from 33k drive away. Visit Cherry Glen Osmond.
90 minutes after 6, news headlines time on the Wednesday, 26th of April. The Defence Strategic Review that was released on Monday highlighted the need for Australia to move into missiles as part of a big push to modernise our military. The federal government announced that just over $4 billion will be spent to fast-track Australia's ability to build and operate missiles. The first part of that is an important element of this, and that's what is making news today.
What do we point them at? Do we point them in a northerly direction? Well, I suppose we're not going to be invaded by Antarctica, are we?
If you use that, there's a great map tool online called As the Crow Flies, where you can put a dot between any 2 points in a map and get a sense of distances. I use it a fair bit on air when we're talking about all manner of things. These missiles, they're talking about, 10 times the range of what we've currently got, 500 kilometres. You point 500 kilometres off the coast of anywhere north of Australia, it's actually not that far. It really is only defending our maritime approaches. So the closest, the only
500 k's is nothing.
It's nothing. So basically, Darwin
That's like from here to
Horsham.
I was going to say Horsham. There's a thought.
Darwin to Timor-Leste is kind of just over 500 kilometres. So it's not as provocative as what the headlines make out. The important thing is the build part of this. I started reading the strategic review, and a big part of it is turning Australia into a place where we make enough stuff. It's funny, it's Back to the Future in its thinking, where we make enough stuff that we can't just be cut out of our place in the world. We can't be cut off from the rest of the world, because we can make missiles to defend ourselves. We can make submarines. We can make ships. We can do all this sort of stuff. And the other important one that I know would have made Leon really happy, part of it is we've got to have enough fuel security that we're not relying on shipments of petrol and oil being able to get to Australian shores. We need to be able to be self-sufficient. It's
from countries that are pretty dubious.
Well, the point being, in a major conflict, we can be cut off from the world really easily. There's that great T.B. Miller quote about you don't have to invade Australia to defeat Australia, and that the strategic review is hugely about that. But I think the important thing for SA is that will lead to all sorts of economic opportunities, industrial opportunities, defence projects and things like that as we move towards making things here in Australia again. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is reportedly heading to Hobart this weekend to announce his government's commitment to a new AFL stadium in Tasmania.
How good is the AFL at squeezing money out of governments?
Oh.
So my reading of this is that the AFL is going to put in 15 million and the Australian taxpayers are going to put in 600 million.
I've got the numbers. We won't go through them after 7 o'clock. The AFL will say, and I'm just putting, devil's advocate hat on, that their ongoing contribution to the game is valued at some $90 million, and there's another $60 million for academy development or some such. So I still think it's an absolute raw. Especially when you consider all the other sports that get absolutely nothing. But in any case,
the politics of it are fascinating though, because the state government down there, they don't want to get involved in the financing of it. Because Tassie being Tassie, I mean, they can't even agree, in Hobart and Launceston, they can't even agree on which beers you drink. Down south it's Cascade, up north it's Bogues. And there's this huge fight about whether the stadium should be in Hobart or Launceston. And of course it should be in Hobart.
It's going to be in Hobart.
But the other thing too, with the proportional representation in their political system, you've never got a clear majority. No one's ever really in charge. So you've got to do all these cobbled together deals with like the Greens and inner city activist types. So none of them want any public money spent on it.
$375 million the Tassie government are pledging towards to build the stadium there. The AFL will then have to go and get the approval of club presidents and the AFL Commission to grant the team a new licence. Police are investigating the death of a man at Olympic Dam. Emergency crews were called to the mine yesterday morning after reports a pedestrian had been critically injured in a collision with a vehicle. The 25-year-old male from Two Wells died at the scene. SafeWork SA has been notified and police will be preparing a report for the coroner.
Geez, there's shocking stories this week. The footy player, which we'll be doing more on later.
The jockey.
Yeah, all these Adelaide blokes getting snuffed out at such a young age.
This is an important story and one, the detail of which I think will appeal to a whole heap of listeners. Doctors will be able to prescribe 2 months' worth of medication in a single script under changes to be introduced in the upcoming federal budget. The federal budget taking place on the 9th of May. From September, at least 6 million Australians will save up to $180 per year on medication and require fewer visits to the GP and pharmacy to fill their scripts. Consumers Health Forum Chief Executive Elizabeth Devaney says the change will only apply to some medicines, largely used by patients with chronic conditions.
The payment you would have paid every month for those medicines, you'll be paying that same payment, but only every 2 months. So you'll save a significant amount of money in the cost of your medicines over a year where those medicines are on this list.
Still a beautiful morning, warmest capital city anywhere in the country right now. 22.8 degrees in Adelaide, top of 28 today. There's going to be a little bit of rain that comes through later with some winds that turn northerly 25 to 40 k's an hour. Tomorrow, top of 23, up to 5 mils of rain. Friday, 19 and up to 7. Saturday, 17 and up to 3. Sunday, 18 and up to 3 as well. So drizzly, cool, more autumnal sort of conditions over the next part of the week, but enjoy the nice part of today. Our resident stats man, Ben Jordan, I like this contribution. He says if Joe Biden wins in 2024, his birth year of 1942 will be closer to Abraham Lincoln's second inauguration in 1864 than indeed to his own.
That's quality work, Ben.
It's extraordinary.
Closer to Abraham Lincoln's.
Yeah.
Staggering, isn't
it? Tom Wren's in the studio with us. Let's talk sport. It's nearly tax time. Act now for immediate delivery on Mitsubishi Triton from Agostino, Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth. Morning to you, Rennie.
Morning, Will. Morning, David. A lot of English Premier League fans out there, I know. Some big games with regards to the relegation table. They've just been completed. Leeds and Leicester have finished in a 1-1 draw. So, not that helpful, really, to either side as they try to fight to avoid relegation. It's very tight down there. Aston Villa 1-0 over Fulham and Wolverhampton 2-0 over Crystal Palace. Great game yesterday. I mean, that comeback from Collingwood was just breathtaking, wasn't it? And Nick Dacos, has there been a better second-year player? I can think of Chris Judd. He won a Brownlow in his third year. His first 50 games from memory were just incredible. But Nick Dacos is right there with him, I think.
He must be Brownlow favourite now.
Has to be. And if you're the Crows this week, so they play them on Sunday, are you today, now they've probably already worked this out long ago, but surely it's straight to Ben Keys. You have got the motor to run with him. This is your job. You just got to run with him and just stop him and make him accountable.
How do you do that, though? How do you stop? No one seems to be able to do it.
Well, I don't know if Ben Keys, though, is just about as fit as anyone in the competition. I think he can match motors with him, but it's whether he's got the class and the ability to stay with him all day.
We chatted with Orazio after Port played Collingwood earlier in the year. Collingwood really took him to task, and he spoke about the difficulty in tagging Nick Dacos. And he made the point, they are so flexible with how they set up, and they're so well coached and drilled. He's never seen anything like, Nick Dacos, he's in the middle. Okay, go to him. Well, he's got a tag. Well, he's going to go to half back and just get 15 handball receives. We've got a forward who's going to come up onto him. Well, now he's playing up on the wing. And they just move, and everyone moves around him, and they just create this scenario where it's almost impossible for one person to follow him around because they're prepared to have everyone shuffle around. You're then suddenly reacting. Does that mean Ben Keys is playing on a wing? Hang on, Nick Dacos so is he gone forward? Keys, is he on the ball now? It's just so hard to do. They're better organised than anyone to evade a kind of hard tag that I've seen.
It's the biggest test Adelaide's had in years, isn't it?
Well, it's a big month.
The expectation is that they're going to be competitive, that they could possibly even still win. Possibly.
It's a huge month ahead for the Crows, isn't it?
Although Carlton are going, beating them a few weeks ago was a lot less of an achievement, isn't it?
Well, they've got Collingwood this week, the Crows. Then they've got Geelong away. Then they come back and they host St Kilda, who are in great form. Bulldogs away after that. And then they come back home and take on Brisbane. I mean, that's 5 tough games. You'll get a good idea of where the Crows are at after round 11. It's a huge 5 weeks coming up.
Well, hopefully. I mean, the way they're going, they're in the fight.
Yep. 4 in a row, you can't argue with that form.
Good on you, Rennie.
Good stuff. Thanks, boys.
Nearly tax time. Act now for immediate delivery on Mitsubishi Triton from Agostino, Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Watching footy with your mates? Brilliant. But heading to the Adelaide Oval and watching the footy in a corporate box with your mates? That's awesome! Buy any Lion beer, including Hans Superdry, West End, Stone and Wood or Forex Gold from the Albion Hotel, Birkenhead Tavern, Lighthouse Wharf, the Excelsior or the Sundowner in Whyalla for a chance to win. You and 3 mates living large in a corporate box at Adelaide Oval. There's 4 packages up for grabs. You just know it's a Barreau Hotel. T's and C's apply.
You know what's become a huge deal at Mawson Lakes Mazda? Our end of financial year deals. Want to know a secret? We can give you amazing prices right now. Yep, Mawson Lakes Mazda is clearing new and demo stock at prices you'll normally get in June. And they're available for immediate delivery. Don't wait. Get in before the end of financial year rush. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
Whether you're a Sparky, a Chippy, a Fiery or a Bikey. Whether they call you Curly, Tubby or Tiny. Whether next door means a few feet or a few miles. We know the weather's harsh in South Australia. But Olympic Industries carports, verandas and sheds are tougher than most. And if they're strong enough in the country, they'll be strong enough in the city. Some say strong as an ox, others say hard as nails. We just say built to last. Olympic Industries.
G'day, it's Rory Sloane. Good leaders always look to support local. Like Leader Computers, Australia's largest Australian-owned PC manufacturer, based right here in South Australia. Having a world-class manufacturer of computers is a big win for our state. providing jobs and local support you simply can't get from overseas companies. For the latest Intel and Microsoft-based computers at great pricing with the huge benefit of local support, find your local dealer at leadersystems.com.au.
Hi, I'm Anne. I work with St Louis Home Care and I'm an enrolled nurse. I work as a client engagement coordinator.
St Louis was started by my great-grandmother and now is one big happy family with lovely staff just like Anne.
The people that work for St Louis are very loving and caring.
Whether it's gardening, meals, shopping, home maintenance or social activities, we help people stay at home for longer.
If you're interested, come and join us.
Google St Louis Home Care today.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A late shower or two, a high of 28. With the 6:30 news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. terraintamer.com.
Millions of people will be able to spend less time at the doctor and save hundreds of dollars per year under changes to prescriptions included in the May budget. The federal government's announced GPs will be able to prescribe patients 60 days worth of common medicines in a single script rather than 30 from September. Consumers Health Forum Chief Elizabeth Devaney says the changes will only apply to some medications.
It's unlikely that could be abused in any way if you're taking medicine for your diabetes or your heart disease. What this provides you with is less costs. You don't have to see your GP or travel to your pharmacy as often, and especially in the bush.
An open letter to the federal government's calling for a substantial increase to JobSeeker. Hundreds of people have signed the letter, including sitting MPs from Labor and the Liberal Party, as well as independents, crossbench MPs and community and business leaders. ACOS Chief Cassandra Goldie says the adequacy of unemployment payments needs to be restored.
It's something where people can know at least they can feed themselves 3 times a day and to keep a roof over their head. Right now we've got almost 70% of people skipping meals on a regular basis and almost everybody now in severe housing stress.
A Two Wells man has died after being involved in a crash at Olympic Dam yesterday. The 25-year-old, who was a contractor at the mine site, was critically injured in a collision with a vehicle. BHP's working with Safe Work SA and major crash officers to determine how it happened. More than $600,000 has been raised for the wife and children of jockey Dean Holland, who was killed following a fall in Victoria. The horse racing community is rallying around the family after the leading jockey's fatal fall on Monday. President Joe Biden has announced his re-election plans for 2024. He's the oldest president in history and, if re-elected, will finish his second term aged 86. He says the progress he's made is thanks to his supporters.
Our economic plan is working. We now have to finish the job. There's way, shovels in the ground, cranes in the air, factories opening, all those jobs, meaning we created. The IBEW jobs, ironworkers, boilermakers, teamsters, labourers, bricklayers.
Court documents from Prince Harry's legal case against the Sun have disclosed a quiet settlement made to his brother, Prince William. More from Curry-Ann Greenbank.
Well, this is the first time the public has heard of this. Court documents in Prince Harry's lawsuit against the Sun and now defunct News of the World are claiming that Rupert Murdoch's newspaper group made a quiet settlement to Prince William in 2020 over phone hacking allegations. The documents claim Prince William was paid a very large sum, but don't say what that sum was or exactly what it was for. But Prince Harry's lawyers are also claiming there was a secret deal done between Buckingham Palace and the newspaper group to delay any legal action from members of the royal family until other phone hacking lawsuits had been finalised. The newspaper group denies there was ever such a deal.
And Mattel has introduced its first Barbie doll with Down syndrome. For accurate representation, Mattel says it worked with the US Down Syndrome Society on the doll's shape, clothing, accessories and packaging. The new doll's part of Barbie's Fashionistas line, which aims to offer kids more diverse representations of beauty. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
It's nearly tax time. Act now for immediate delivery on Mitsubishi Triton from Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Collingwood has drawn level with St Kilda on top of the AFL ladder following a thrilling 13-point Anzac Day win. That came against Essendon. Nick Dacos was brilliant with the best on-ground effort with 40 touches and a couple of goals. Meantime, Port Adelaide captain Tom Jonas says he understands and accepts his one-match ban for a head-high collision on West Coast Jai Cully.
It's probably fair. That's where the game's got to, and it's important that we do continue to protect the head.
Audio there thanks to Channel 9. To the NRL, Melbourne Storm has defeated the New Zealand Warriors 30-22. The Storm trailed by 6 points at half-time. 5'8" Cam Munster admitted to Fox his side wasn't playing its best.
We weren't completing well and we tried to score off every play. So, yeah, look, it's a frustrating thing at the moment, but when we keep disrespecting the ball like we are, we're lucky enough to get away tonight, but if we do that against anyone else, it could be danger.
Let's go to soccer. Leicester has left it late to claim a crucial point as it tries to desperately avoid relegation in the English Premier League. Leeds led 1-0 until substitute Jamie Vardy found an equaliser in the 80th minute.
Here's Maddison. It's Vardy! Who else? Jamie Vardy off the bench and delivering what is a priceless goal for Leicester City on the relegation run-in.
Yeah, massive there. Audio thanks to Optus. There were two other games this morning with Aston Villa also 1-0 winners against Fulham, while Wolverhampton had a 2-0 win against Crystal Palace. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
See any issue firsthand with AutoCam. Real-time video, direct to you from your Automasters technician.
A late shower or two heading for 28. Showers easing tomorrow, 23. Showers on Friday, 19. And a shower or two Saturday, 17. At the moment, 23. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Test drive the incredible Cherry Motor 5 today at Cherry Glen Osmond from 33k drive away. Go Cherry.
22 minutes to 7. Coming up this half hour, police and weather in just a moment. Really fascinating story that Kendall just had in 5AA News a moment ago regarding Mattel and the new range of Barbies that they're bringing out that will include those with Down syndrome. They were announced in collaboration with the National Down Syndrome Society in the United States. The conversation has changed a long way in a very short period of time about the messaging and appropriateness of the Barbie doll, hasn't it? Because they've gone out of their way now to have ranges that are inclusive for race and gender and all manner of things. Once upon a time, it was sort of the doll that encapsulated everything that was wrong with identity.
Well, yeah,
they've gone a long way to rectifying that.
Miniature Paris Hilton.
That's right.
But yeah, for a while now, there's been black dolls, Latina dolls, but that's good for kids with Down syndrome to have someone relatable to play with.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good thing.
It's a really nice measure. We've got a lot of Dutton's texts coming through on the Dutton's text line. Dutton's Volkswagen for the all-new Amarok test drive it today. Dutton's easy to do business with.
They certainly are. There's a stack about the announcement overnight that Joe Biden will be running next year for a second term. Darren says 4 more years of Biden's a danger to the free world and a bonus for China. Guy in Highgate says, morning all, Biden looks like he should be moving into a retirement home, but he still beats Trump. The GOP can win the White House in 2024, but not with Trump because he's toxic. The Democrats will hope that Trump is the candidate. DeSantis beats Biden, but how do the Republicans shake off Trump's hold of the party? They did a deal with the devil there. Kay in Golden Grove says, old and doddery against divisive and dangerous. Biden has good support around him, and I know which way I would vote. And another one here asking, Rob wants to know, will Joe Biden actually front the press at any stage? Good question. And lovely one here from Lisa in Clearview. Good morning, Dave and Will. I was listening to 5AA yesterday and heard an amazing interview with Tom Wren. He played the last post at Rosewater RSL and has done so for the past 30-plus years. It was the most wonderful story, how it all came about. I'm not sure if you've already spoken to him about this, but I'm sure your listeners would love to learn this story. We'll have a chat to Tom about that when we catch up with him tomorrow. But
during the footy call on Sunday, when the on-field ceremony took place before the Crows game against Hawthorn, as the last post was being played, I was sitting next to Rowie, and he was doing all the breathing motions of it and playing it without a bugle in hand, effectively, going through it. Because, his dream is to play it on an Anzac Day one day.
He's been learning for about 3 years now, Rowie.
About 3 years. He said it takes 10 years to get up to the point where you're good enough to be able to do it. Because they don't just let people who, I gave it a crack and I can do a reasonable passing job of it a go.
You got to. You
don't need to be able to nail it absolutely every single time.
There's that really hard bit. I can never remember how to pronounce it either. I'm sure we've got veterans listening who. It's spelt reveal, but the French word, it's Reveille. And I think it's a musical term for a little flourish of notes that happens when you think the song is over.
Mm.
And it's that ba-ba, 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 ba, like right at the very end, but it's after the...
Rowie said that's the hardest bit to play.
Yeah, and I remember it's burned in my brain because I buggered it up at Bill Schmidt's funeral, and his son Lincoln had said to me, just remember at the end when they play the last post, before you start speaking again, you'll think it's finished.
Oh,
and then they'll play that bit. And I almost think it was one of those things that was psychosomatic, where he got it into my head, don't stuff it up, don't stuff it up. And so as night follows day, I stuffed it up. I started talking as the bugler was about to play the last bit of the song. I sort of pulled back out of it, but
I'm sure you're not
it catches
you
people
wouldn't be the
all
first
time.
nor the last to get caught there.
It's really annoying me now how it's pronounced.
Someone might know. We'll have
Someone will know.
someone in the know listening. If you are that person, give us a call on 822 text us on the Duttons text line, or jump on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream, and you can contact us that way.
Speaking of being annoyed by something, you know what's been playing on my mind all night? As I was putting my 8-year-old to bed last night, he looks at me and he goes, Dad, why does 1 hour have 60 minutes? And why does 1 day have 24 hours? Okay. Well, we sort of... Is it because of the sun? We need to have an arbitrary system whereby we can count the amount
what
of
a full
time.
rotation is.
Yeah. But why is it 60 minutes and 24 hours? Why isn't it 10 hours and why did we settle on the units of time? Why are they what they are?
It's an excellent question.
Where do kids get questions like that
ill-equipped to answer? Lucy's wandered into the studio. Morning to you, Lucy.
Hopefully because
Hello.
Lucy has the answer.
No, I have your answer to the réveil.
Réveil.
It's French.
Réveil.
It means to wake up. So the wake up is part of the Bugle's wake up for sunrise to the war veterans.
Réveil.
Réveil, yeah. The verb is réveiller.
Réveiller.
It's called le réveil, yeah.
Le
Don't try, but it's French.
Le réveil. Le réveil.
Yeah, it means to wake up.
I'll tell you what, have you had a look outside yet today?
I sure have. So the wake up in the Bugle is about them. It's the wake up call.
Makes
sense. An excellent explanation.
Thank you, Lucy.
If you are waking up, do yourself a favour. Lucy's a huge sunrise fan. Get out and have a look at the sunrise, because it's an absolute cracker, folks.
16 minutes to 7. We're going to check traffic and come back with police and weather in just a moment. Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. terraintamer.com.
Thanks, Will, and good morning. Got residual delays from earlier two-car collision at Enfield, Regency Road near Main North Road. Also sluggish around the previous car fire at Nailsworth, Main North Road near Harvey Street. Works at West Beach is slowing things up this morning. Tapless Hill Road near West Beach Road, speeds at 60. And look out for cameras. Barramundi Drive, Hallett Cove, and Education Road at Happy Valley. Lucky enough to win a River Revival voucher? Book before April 28 and rise up for our river. Visit southaustralia.com/voucher. SA licence number T23271. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Australia's greatest sporting rivalry is back. The 2023 Ampol State of Origin Series. Kick off your Origin experience the right way at the official pre-game party inside the pavilion at Adelaide Oval on Wednesday, May 31. Mingle with rugby league legends and enjoy 2 hours of food and drinks. This is the perfect way to start your Origin experience. To book, see nrl.com/hospitality or email hospitality@nrl.com.au.
5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide Tech Guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Wearable tech is a fantastic way to enhance your health and fitness routine and hold yourself accountable. The Fitbit Versa 3 is one of the most reliable smartwatches in the game. It's packed with health and fitness features like 24/7 heart rate tracking, sleep management tools and built-in GPS. Plus, you can receive smartphone notifications and control Spotify when your phone is nearby, and it's water resistant up to 50 metres. It's super easy to use, making the perfect Mother's Day gift for health-conscious or tech-savvy mums. And just in time for Mother's Day, Harvey Norman have a great offer on the Fitbit Versa 3. Save $100 off the recommended retail price and get it for an incredible $198 in black, midnight or pink. This fantastic offer starts Thursday and ends May the 17th.
Check out this great offer at a Harvey Norman store near you.
So many lives are impacted by breast cancer. It's never an easy thing to face, but Calvary SA's recently expanded breast and endocrine service is here if you need it.
Now, it can be helpful to understand your risk factors with a family history review or to have any suspicious lumps checked. Calvary's expert team offer quality patient care tailored to individual needs to help you through your entire journey.
They'll guide you through every step, and together with service providers on site, you can rest assured that you are in good hands.
So if you have breast concerns, ask your GP for a referral and get access to immediate appointments with experienced medical specialists. Search Calvary SA Breast and Endocrine Service for more information. Available at Calvary North Adelaide Hospital and Calvary Central Districts Hospital in Elizabeth Vale.
IGA's Price Match Promise. We checked, we matched, you won't pay more. Every week we check and match the regular price of the big two supermarkets on hundreds of everyday products. Just look out for the Price Match tickets in store. Participating stores only. See website for full terms.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
The Cherry Motor 5 offers state-of-the-art driving from 33k drive away. Visit Cherry Glen Osmond.
12 minutes to 7. Let's head to the Weather Bureau on a morning where we've already had a terrific sunrise. It looks like it's going to be nice, at least early part of the day. Mark Anilak's the senior forecaster on duty. What kind of Wednesday do we have ahead, Mark?
Good morning, guys. Yeah, quite a warm day with probably a little bit uncomfortable, actually. The winds will be quite fresh from the north, so looking at sort of 20 to 30 kilometre an hour winds increasing during the afternoon. Today, heading for a top of 28 degrees. We'll see cloud increasing during the day, and for those waiting for a spot or two of rainfall, we probably have to wait until well after dark, probably closer to midnight before we see anything here in the city. Looks like we'll see a late shower or two this evening. 28 degrees today. Most of the rainfall will fall overnight tonight, sort of between midnight and sunrise tomorrow. So tomorrow will be an interesting day in that we'll have early showers, clearing up to a mostly fine day, 23 degrees, before showers return again late tomorrow evening. But following that, we're just back into cooler conditions with periods of shower activity through the weekend. For today, a late shower or two and a top of 28 degrees.
So, Mark, are you calling it? You're going to put your neck on the line? Was this the end of the autumnal weather?
I've had that question already this morning. So, yeah, I think that's the end of it. That's the hot stuff gone, I think. Yeah, I think we've seen a change in the weather now.
There's a nice little bonus few days, though, particularly for Anzac Day. Well, thanks, Mark.
Sensational day it was yesterday. Thank you, Mark. Let's head to SAPOL. Senior Constable Rhett Davis joins us. Rhett, a drink driver has been caught in Bedford Park.
Yep, just after 11:50pm last night, police observed a Toyota sedan driving on Flinders Drive, Bedford Park. The vehicle was seen driving through a red light before being stopped by police. The driver, a 22-year-old man from Norwood, submitted to a breath test and returned a positive reading of 0.142, which is almost 3 times the legal limit. The man was reported for drink driving and driving through a red light, had his car impounded and lost his licence for 6 months. He will be summoned to appear in court at a later date.
And also, there's been some suspicious activity in Clemzig.
Yeah, at about 4:40 this morning, police were called to a reserve on 4th Avenue at Clemzig after reports of suspicious activity. Patrol was attended and located an ATM on the soccer pitch. The ATM had been forced open and was completely empty. Witnesses saw a car leaving the area just before police arrived. About 20 minutes later, patrols were called to Harvey Street at Nailsworth over reports of a car on fire. MFS attended it and extinguished the blaze, but the RAV4 was completely destroyed. Inquiries are being made with the registered owner and whether there are any links with the stolen ATM. And then, Just before 6 a.m. this morning, police were called to a petrol station on Stevens Terrace at St. Peter's after an employee arrived at work to discover their business had been broken into and an ATM had been stolen. The ATM was stolen about 3:30 a.m. So anyone with any information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers on 1-800-333-000.
Good stuff. Thanks for that, Rhett. Tell you what, there's one thing you don't often expect to find in the middle of a soccer pitch is an ATM. No. Pretty bizarre.
No, that is...
I didn't think you could get those things open. I thought they had some sort of... Was it Breaking Bad, where they've got the ATM and those two meth addicts in their house, and they've got the...
They can't get it open. They're trying to drill on it. Yeah,
it
doesn't work.
The thing.
It's a bit like our next problem, but something that's more the academic-minded are treating like the unbreakable ATM. That is a discovery that was made with regard to a new shape. Our next guest will explain. Adam Spencer, who's the host of the upcoming Cosmic Perspectives show starring Neil deGrasse Tyson here at the Adelaide Convention Centre on the 4th of July. Adam, good morning to you. The new Einstein shape, why is it significant?
Oh, I love it. I haven't heard it compared to as tough as a bust as an ATM in the middle of a soccer field, but that's not a bad analogy, mate. Let's go back one step, okay? Let's say you're tiling your bathroom wall, and you've done pretty well in life. You've got a big bathroom. This wall is actually infinitely large. It's a wall that goes on forever, right? Let's start simple. If I just had some square tiles, I could lay them out across and up and down, and you could picture a set of squares covering an infinitely large wall, yeah? But if I took that set of squares and just slid them, one tile to the right or two tiles up or whatever, that tiling would cover itself perfectly. The lines would go on the lines, there'd be no gaps. Can you see how squares by squares is a repeating tile? It repeats itself, yeah? So for a long time, mathematicians wondered, could we find a set of tiles that could cover an infinitely large wall without the pattern repeating? If you slid the pattern onto itself anywhere, there'd always be gaps where the lines don't quite line up. The first attempt to do this, mathematician said, no, I don't think you can. Then someone found, get this, ridiculous, a group of 20,000 tiles that could click together and do it. And what mathematicians do when we discover something like that is try and improve on the result. Someone came up with a set of 104 tiles that could cover an infinitely large bathroom wall. Someone improved that to 92. Someone got it down to 6. And in 1974, a famous British mathematician, Roger Penrose, came up with a set of just 2 tiles, one sort of like a triangle, one sort of like a kite, and they will click together, and go on an infinitely large wall without the pattern ever repeating. And for 50 years, we've wondered, could there be a single tile out there, a single shape that could click on itself, and cover an infinitely large bathroom wall? Well, step up, 64-year-old Englishman from Yorkshire, Dave Smith, who's not even a professional mathematician. He's just a guy who likes tooling around with computer graphics software. He's discovered this single 13-sided shape, which they're calling the Einstein, which is German Ein for one, Stein for tile or stone. This single 13-sided shape that can click onto itself, and go forever across an infinitely large plane without the pattern repeating. Well played, Dave Smith.
Looking at the images of it, Adam, it sort of looks comparable to... It almost looks a little bit like a ninja star, but it also looks like a stylised drawing of a T-shirt.
Yeah, some people are calling it a T-shirt. Some are saying the hat. It looks a bit like a crumpled fedora hat. If people look up Einstein tile online, what you'll notice, guys, is it sort of looks like 2 hexagons that have been put together and got a little bit friendly, and you've folded a couple of the corners of the hexagon out, and it's actually based on hexagons. The reason we work out, you know, like a group of hexagons, like a beehive, the honeycomb, is just hexagon on hexagon, and that can go forever. It's a variation on that patterning, but with enough little changes in it that it doesn't repeat itself. It's called an aperiodic tiling. We didn't know if it existed, and a non-mathematician discovered it. I think that's just beautiful.
So what do we read into that? Did he chance into it, or is there some sort of equation you can refine to get there? What?
That's a really good question. Now, this guy had been obsessed with this problem, so he tried all these different patterns, and he worked on this variation of the double hexagon, and it looked to him like, yeah, it went forever without repeating. but he actually needed some really hard, deep mathematics to drive that final point home. So he teamed up with a professional mathematician. He said, here's my shape. I've done it on the computer for thousands and thousands and thousands of tilings, and it looks right. Can you actually get me over that final hurdle that this is mathematically solid? And the two of them have produced this paper, which has got the maths world buzzing.
Do you think we're going to see a radical overhaul of bathroom design now?
Look, you'd have to be doing pretty well in life to do an infinite Einstein. It's a real sort of, if you'll excuse the pun on bathrooms, it would be a vanity project of the highest order to say, oh, you've got squares, have you? Come and have a look at my Einstein tiling.
Adam, look forward to you
Great
coming
story.
to town in July at the Convention Centre for the upcoming Cosmic Perspective show with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on 5AA Breakfast.
A pleasure as always, guys.
There'll be people ringing Coxie at Buy Urban Bathrooms and Kitchens this morning when they open at 9 o'clock saying, hey, I'm thinking about getting the ensuite redone in a sort of Einstein tile style. Hey, just in relation to our chat with Rhett from Police Media, droll comment here on the Duttons text line. Pretty hard to find an AGM anywhere. Well, not in the middle of a soccer field in Clemsing, so it seems.
Yeah, they had to be pretty resourceful to even find one in the first place. 4 to 7. We've had a lot of people texting in this morning about Darcy Moore's Anzac Day speech yesterday, the Anzac Day game between Collingwood and Essendon. Darcy Moore, the star Pie defender, spoke really well after the game. Here's what he had to say.
No matter whether you wear the black and white stripes or the red sash, this game's about so much more than the 4 points. So you turning up today and showing your support means a lot, and we're incredibly proud to play our part in this game. I want to thank and mention all men and women who are serving our country's interests both at home and abroad in war and in peacekeeping operations. It means a lot to me and the team and the whole club that we can commemorate your service and your sacrifice today by doing what we do. So thank you for your service. To the veterans, there are over 600,000 veterans in this country who have returned from service. We also extend our thanks to you for your sacrifice. And then finally, to the families of those serving and those veterans. Too often, your stories go untold. And on behalf of the Collingwood Footy Club, just want to acknowledge the pain of war that runs through so many families across this country. So it's a real honour for us to run out here and play our game in honour of you and your service. So to the families of those who have served, thank you so much for your service. Thank you.
He just spoke so beautifully.
It was an excellent speech, and it sounded, there was no script. He wasn't reading from notes. He just got up and did all that.
Isn't it nice? There is one of the nice elements of this next generation of young blokes that are coming through, especially in footballers or those traditional sort of macho male endeavours. It's not a slight on you to sound thoughtful and intelligent.
100%, and that's one of the biggest things that's held blokes back in this country for a long time. It's fed into things like uncomfortable feelings about discussing things like depression, that the idea that you ever look intelligent or emotional is frowned upon, and it's good that it's changing. I mean, there's even little things like the fact that we can sit here, you know, and quite happily trash our, what is a traditional football segment with Tom Duday to talk about international cinema. You know, like, boys done good, it was a game of two halves. You know, for a long time, that was all you ever got from sport, and it was almost regarded as a bit sort of sus or weird if you used actual words and proper sentences. So that's great. You couldn't be any more correct about the way that guy speaks is excellent. He's a really impressive bloke, I reckon, Darcy.
Completely, yeah.
But cracking speech. Good on him.
Fantastic footballer as well.
I mean, we don't like Collingwood.
Well, no one's perfect. 2 minutes to 7, 5AA News is coming up. We'll take you through some of the stories of the morning next.
Hi, it's Sean from Automasters. This outside brake pad is the one we're concerned about.
Now you can see what we see.
If I come down here, this is your front shock absorber.
Autocam.
So I'd like to flush that system out for you too.
Real-time video sent direct to you from your Automasters technician.
He wants to run a little engine flush through to help get out that old oil that's in there.
See any issue firsthand. How good? Real-time reporting with instant SMS approval. Call 1300 Automasters. Great service guaranteed.
Menulog's got a finger-licking good deal for you. Right now, you can score a free Zinger burger with any KFC Burger Box meal delivered. Hurry, this deal's around for a limited time only and exclusively on Menulog. T's and C's apply. See an app for details.
Ladies, do you feel like your entire day revolves around your bladder? Caruso's Weeless relieves the annoying and inconvenient feeling that you need to go to the bathroom too often and supports bladder health and function. So if you want to help control the urge and regain your bladder confidence, try Caruso's Weeless today. Caruso's Weeless is made in Australia and comes with a money-back guarantee and is available from leading pharmacies and health food stores. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
Is there anything more comforting than slipping under a wonderful wool quilt? Mini Jumbuck has been making Australia's favourite wool bedding products for over 45 years. And with wool's excellent natural temperature regulating properties, you can enjoy them all year round. And with factory direct pricing, you'll be tempted by our pillows, protectors, Ugg boots and comfy wool clothing too. For wonderful woolen comfort this winter and all year round, choose Mini Jumbuck, Australia's favourite wool bedding products for over 45 years. Open 7 days in McLaren Vale.
AutoCam.
So this is the air filter out of your car.
Real-time video sent direct to you from your Automasters technician.
It's not actually the wheel bearing. What it is, the handbrake.
AutoCam. Real-time reporting with instant SMS approval. Call 1300 Automasters.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A late shower or two, a high of 28. With the 7 o'clock news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. terraintamer.com.
A stolen ATM was found on a soccer pitch at Clemsig early this morning. Police were called to a reserve on 4th Avenue after reports of suspicious activity. Senior Constable Rhett Davis says the ATM had been forced open and was completely empty.
Just before 6 a.m. this morning, police were called to a petrol station on Stevens Terrace at St Peter's after an employee arrived at work to discover their business had been broken into and an ATM had been stolen. The ATM was stolen about 3:30 a.m.
And a RAV4 was found burnt out on Harvey Street at Nailsworth. Inquiries are being made with the registered owner to see whether there are any links to the stolen ATM. Doctors will be able to prescribe 2 months' worth of medication in a single script under changes to be introduced in the upcoming federal budget. From September, at least 6 million Australians will save up to $180 a year on medication and require less visits to the GP and pharmacy to fill their scripts. Consumers Health Forum Chief Executive Elizabeth Devenny says the change will only apply to some medicines, largely used by patients with chronic conditions.
The payment you would have paid every month for those medicines, you'll be paying that same payment, but only every 2 months. So you'll save a significant amount of money in the cost of your medicines over a year where those medicines are on this list.
Police are investigating the death of a man at Olympic Dam yesterday. Emergency crews were called to the mine after reports a pedestrian had been critically injured in a collision with a vehicle. The 25-year-old Two Wells man died at the scene. SafeWork SA has been notified. Just over $4 billion will be spent fast-tracking Australia's ability to build and operate its own missiles. More from Michael Packey in Canberra.
The Defence Strategic Review highlighted the need for Australia to move into missiles as part of a big push to modernise our military in the face of the threat posed by China. The federal government will today announce it'll double the amount of money for guided weapons and explosive ordnance stocks. $1.6 billion will be used to invest in long-range strike capabilities, meaning we'll have weapons that can eventually be fired from 500 kilometres away. $2.5 billion will be used to help manufacture some missiles in Australia, including their components.
An open letter addressed to the federal government is calling for an increase to JobSeeker. Politicians from all sides have joined advocates, community and business leaders and academics signing it. The letter urges the Prime Minister to raise the payment to address structural injustice. US President Joe Biden has formally announced he'll be seeking a second term. More from US correspondent Alison Petrowski.
Let me finish the job. That is the message from the US President, releasing a 2024 campaign video warning that American freedoms are under threat from MAGA extremists.
Dictating what healthcare decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote.
The announcement sets up an election rematch between Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, even though polls indicate voters don't want either to be the chosen candidates for the next election. Already the oldest sitting president, Biden is 82 years old. He would be 86 at the end of a potential second term.
American singer Harry Belafonte has died at his home in Manhattan. He stormed the charts in the 1950s with songs including Banana Boat and Island in the Sun.
I may sail on many a sea, the shores will always be home to me.
He was also a civil rights activist, smashing racial barriers and becoming one of the most dynamic performers of his time. He died of heart failure at the age of 96. And the horse racing community's rallying around the family of jockey Dean Holland, who died following a race fall in Victoria. The South Australian's family raising more than $600,000 from a GoFundMe page for his wife and children. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
It's nearly tax time. Act now for immediate delivery on Mitsubishi Triton from Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Collingwood has completed an incredible comeback to defeat Essendon by 13 points in their Anzac Day clash at the MCG in front of more than 95,000 fans. Jordan Tunbridge reports.
The most highly anticipated Anzac Day clash in more than a decade has certainly lived up to the hype. Collingwood and Essendon were evenly matched in the first half before the Bombers kicked away to a 28-point lead at three-quarter time. Refusing to give up, the Magpies made a late surge in the final quarter with 7 unanswered goals to win by 13 points. Magpies midfielder Nick Dacos won the Anzac medal for best on ground, starring with 40 disposals and 2 goals. A record Anzac Day crowd of 95,179 witnessed the thrilling encounter at the MCG.
Meantime, Adelaide forward Darcy Fogarty admits it was a dream come true to kick the winning goal against Hawthorn in the dying stages of their clash on Sunday.
Everyone sort of likes to have those scenarios. They're the sort of, well, more so after the siren, but they're the scenarios you dream of as a kid.
Audio there thanks to 9 News. Well, 3 games in the English Premier League with Wolverhampton 2-0 winners against Crystal Palace. Aston Villa had a 1-0 win against Fulham, while Leeds and Leicester drew 1-1. Danish teenage tennis star Holger Rune has been selected to play for Team Europe at this year's Laver Cup in Vancouver. That's coming up in September. And 2 games in the NBA playoffs with Jimmy Butler on fire with 56 points to help his Miami Heat take a 3-1 series lead against Milwaukee as they won Game 4 119 to 114. And LeBron James had 22 points and 20 rebounds as his LA Lakers beat the Memphis Grizzlies 117 to 111 in overtime to also take a 3-1 series lead. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
Good morning, Adrenella. Look out for a smash on the Southern Expressway heading outbound. Got a few delays there at the moment. Got work slowing things up at Woodville North. Lane closed there. Torrens Road near Lonsdale Street. Speeds at 40. And got 2 lanes out of action this morning at Eastwood. Always gets pretty slow throughout the morning. That's Glen Osmond Road near Fullerton Road. Speeds at 40 there. Cameras, you'll find one Hallett Road, Stonyfell, and got another one too, McGill Road at McGill. Did you know it took 21 attempts to create Guzmani Gomez's perfectly crunchy corn chips, which are made fresh in store every day? Look up hashtag GYG Did You Know for more. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
See any issue firsthand with AutoCam. Real-time video, direct to you from your Automaster's technician.
A late shower or 2, a high of 28. Showers easing tomorrow, 23. Showers on Friday, 19. And a shower or 2 Saturday, 17. At the moment, 23. More news as it happens on 5AA.
And the sun is up on another magnificent April day, late April day in Adelaide. Had a beautiful sunrise a short time ago. Big hour coming up on the show. Sean Fuster after 7:30 today. The rumour file kicks off before 8 o'clock. We've got a magnificent Smeg appliance to give away, thanks to the great people at Debney Distributors. David Kosh is still to come on the program too. He'll be after 8:30 today. Let's get into some of the news that's making headlines this morning. In Adelaide, with first appointed as something we're hoping to do more on a little bit later in the morning, following the tragic death of over the weekend of Antonio Loiacono in that Hills football game, tackled late in the match. Sort of moment that happens hundreds upon hundreds of times in a football game. Knocked out, died a little bit later. The Amateur League, through Chief Executive John Kernahan, are talking about the introduction of a concussion passport that would ensure clubs are aware of at-risk players. Ties are reporting on that story this morning. Hugely important one and a significant development for Amateur League football. This is something that has been championed before by former player agent Peter Jess, who said the concussion passport that monitors how often you've been concussed, there's some official record of it, should be part of it. There are people speaking in the Tizer article that are neurosurgeons that have endorsed the plan. We're going to endeavour to speak more on that after 8:30 today. But if you're someone involved in Amateur League football and you've got a view, we would absolutely love to hear from you today, because...
Not just amateur football. I think it should actually extend down to, and say this of pretending that I knew what I was doing for 4 years coaching a primary school football team. I had no medical training. Well, I've got no medical training. I think...
I bet there was no hard and fast rule about what if there's 2 concussions? What if there's 3 concussions?
The only rule was sort of common sense and, you know, look after the kids, obviously. But if anything really bad ever happened, and mercifully it didn't, but I wouldn't have known what to have done. It's got to be, you know, you have to do your AFL coach accreditation that's got all the training drills and everything else. But I think the medical part of it needs to be amped up big time.
Feels like we're approaching a point in time where there's going to be a hard and fast rule that you get X number of concussions and your career's over.
Well, we were chatting off air about that sickening footage in the Swans game a few weeks ago.
Paddy McCartan.
That was unwatchable.
That was awful. That was truly... You talk about graphic injuries and bones coming through skin and stuff in the AFL. The worst thing I've ever seen was Paddy McCartan barely get his head brushed and looked like he'd been punched out by Mike Tyson.
That was in the Port game, wasn't it?
Was it the Port? It might have been the Port.
I think it was.
Maybe that's why I was watching.
Yeah. But he looked like...
That's not good for the game. That's not, and well, most importantly, it's not good for him.
No. But imagine his family watching that. Yeah. And his brother was in the same game and got injured too.
Yeah, Tom.
God, his poor mother.
The other big news that you've heard in 5AA News this morning, breaking overnight, the release of this video signifying that US President Joe Biden will be seeking a second term.
When I ran for president 4 years ago, I said we're in a battle for the soul of America, and we still are. The question we're facing is whether in the years ahead we have more freedom or less freedom, more rights or fewer. I know what I want the answer to be, and I think you do too. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election. Because I know America. I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity. That we're a nation where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal, that everyone should be given a fair shot to succeed in this country. Thank you for choosing us.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Will. The way their political system works, this doesn't mean he's guaranteed to be the Democrats' nominee, does it? Because another Democrat could run a campaign against him and win.
There are 2 that have already announced they're going to step up and challenge, and the suspicion is they'll be the only 2, and they're not really credible alternatives. Author Marianne Williamson and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who carries the name.
He's an anti-vax candidate, though, isn't he?
Yeah, environmental lawyer, anti-vaxxer, neither of whom are seen as really credible opposition to Joe Biden. So, yeah, typically in the normal blush of things, him declaring he wants to run again, he still needs to go through the process of being the formal nominee, but that seems like it'll be... that'll be taken as read. He's 80 at the moment, the nation's oldest president. Every day that he is in the job, he breaks the record. This would be 4 more years and take him well into his mid to late 80s.
So one poll overnight, 38% of Americans don't want Biden or Trump to be the candidates. I think that the way things are looking right now, they're going to be pretty disappointed when the election rolls around in November next year.
Yeah, I think so. Big news too out of the US. Harry Belafonte, you've heard in 5AA News this morning, the singer, actor and activist who was a huge part of the civil rights movements in the United States, has died at the age of 96.
Work all night on a
Carmen Jones. The stuff that makes really amazing reading historically about Harry Belafonte is all the civil rights movements that he was associated with. And I say that as a plural deliberately. He was a close friend of Martin Luther King Jr., who Belafonte had an apartment in New York, and when Martin Luther King Jr. was in town, he'd often go there, and that's where they'd sit around talking strategy and what was next for the civil rights movement. He then led a campaign against apartheid in South Africa and became friends with Nelson Mandela. He was a huge supporter for the fight against HIV and AIDS, became a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. He came up with the idea for this. The We Are the World. He doesn't give himself a verse. He sings in the chorus. This was his idea. Harry Belafonte, an incredible life, 96 years of age.
I had no idea that he was so embedded in the civil rights movement and that he was mates with Martin Luther King. Pretty amazing life.
And Nelson Mandela. And yeah, an incredible life.
Apparently the first time he performed live as a musician in the 1950s, his backing band was Charlie Parker's band, which at that time had Miles Davis in it as well. Sort of handy little group of musicians to have on stage with you.
That is incredible.
What a life.
Maybe we should talk about, because we've got some excellent stuff to give away this morning, maybe we should talk about musicians who are famous for things other than music. There's been plenty. Political activism's often big, but movie stardom as well. I think it's someone like Elvis. Belafonte did it all.
Aretha Franklin, when she died, that was only about a year ago. And again, like as with Belafonte, had no idea how huge she was in the civil rights movement too.
Yeah, if there's any others we're missing, let us know. Musicians who are famous for things other than music. 8223 You can text us on the Dutton's text line as well. Dutton's Volkswagen for the all-new Amarok. Test drive it today. Dutton's, easy to do business with. We're going to talk sport in a moment, and that will feature a conversation about the 19th AFL licence. The Tasmanian team that we expect will receive federal government support as soon as this coming weekend. Herald Sun reporting that today. But we'll get into that conversation in a moment. Time for traffic, thanks to Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. TerrainTamer.com.
Thanks, Will. Got a smash on the Southern Expressway to look out for as you're heading outbound. Got a few delays there at the moment. Got work slowing things up today at Paynham Road near Portrush Road. Got a lane out of action at Woodville North, Torrens Road near Lonsdale Street, and slow for works at Eastwood at the moment. 2 lanes closed there. Glen Osmond Road near Fulham Road, speeds at 40. Cameras McGill Road, McGill, and Sheriff's Road at Lonsdale. Enjoy no join fees and memberships from only $7.99 per week at Zap Fitness. Limited time only. Visit zapfitness.com today. T's and C's apply. Available on select memberships. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA Mornings with Matthew Pantelis.
A call to increase the number of federal MPs we have. I'd be putting up a contrary argument that says it's time to have a look at the role of state governments because basically they're hangers-on from the colonial days, pre-federation.
Weekday mornings from 9.
Transfer all the duplicate functions to Canberra, increase the number of MPs, and away we go without state governments in the mix.
On 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide Tech guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Wearable tech is a fantastic way to enhance your health and fitness routine and hold yourself accountable. The Fitbit Versa 3 is one of the most reliable smartwatches in the game. It's packed with health and fitness features like 24/7 heart rate tracking, sleep management tools, and built-in GPS. Plus, you can receive smartphone notifications and control Spotify when your phone is nearby, and it's water resistant up to 50 metres. It's super easy to use, making the perfect Mother's Day gift for health-conscious or tech-savvy mums. And just in time for Mother's Day, Harvey Norman have a great offer on the Fitbit Versa 3. Save $100 off the recommended retail price and get it for an incredible $198 in black, midnight or pink. This fantastic offer starts Thursday and ends May the 17th.
Check out this great offer at a Harvey Norman store near you.
Australia's greatest sporting rivalry is back with the 2023 Ampol State of Origin Series. Witness the game's best players square off in the ultimate fight for state pride as two of the greatest coaches, Freddie Fittler and Billy Slater, go head-to-head. Queensland, their dominant performance last year saw them reclaim the Shield, so the Blues will be out to deny Queensland another series win. The Ampol State of Origin kicks off Wednesday the 31st of May at Adelaide Oval. Secure your tickets today at nrl.com/tickets.
I'm Kathy Nagel, Chief Executive of Western Hospital Henley Beach. Are you looking for a new GP? Western Hospital GP Clinic delivers primary care to all. Our GPs and experienced practice staff will assist you with your health journey and be there for you when you need it most, from young families to seniors. Healthcare assessments and care plans are just part of the services offered here at Western Hospital GP Clinic by our 12 friendly GPs. For more information or to make an appointment online, visit westernhospitalgp.com.au.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
The Cherry Motor 5 offers state-of-the-art driving from 33k drive away. Visit Cherry Glen Osmond.
20 minutes after 7. I want you to imagine, if you will, the toughest race on Earth. The Arctic Ultra, 617 kilometres through the frozen landscapes of the Canadian Arctic.
So I thought the City to Bay was hard enough.
Oh no, this is slightly more onerous. This one, you go into it knowing only 1 in 5 people are going to finish it. 4 in 5 people won't make it to the finish line in the allotted time. And it's not as though there are thousands that do it. Just 21 participate in the race this year, where you face things like minus 38 degree temperature, winds in excess of 150 kilometres an hour. You've got to combine those two things with the fact you've got to be self-sufficient. You're carrying your food, you're carrying everything you need to survive for that 9-day period. Our next guest not only undertook this challenge, but completed it. Tim Hanlon, who is one of our colleagues, actually works for Nova in Melbourne. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. How are you? That sounds pretty impressive, doesn't it?
Well, it is impressive.
Why did I do that?
Well, I was going to say, it does lead to the inevitable question as to why, Tim.
Well, look, a while ago, like 2015, I did a run through the desert in the Sahara, and I went, I've done something hot, I should do something cold. So a friend of mine from Adelaide, actually, Matt, he was Googling, and he found this 6633 Arctic Ultra. He said, let's give it a crack. We gave it a crack. We both didn't finish in 2017. So I spent 6 years stewing, training, and getting myself ready emotionally and mentally, and I've cracked it this year, which is pretty good.
See, Tim, I reckon if I'd tried it once and failed, I would have given up and said, this is ridiculous, maybe I'll just, go to Vanuatu instead for a holiday. What was it that made you, did it really eat away at you because you weren't that, in the context of the race, so it's 617 kilometres, the first time you did it, you're only about 100 odd Ks away from the finish line, weren't you?
Yeah, this race just eats at your soul, and I was absolutely gutted I never made it the first time. And just, every day, I would say I would have thought about that race every day for 6 years. And then when I got a chance to go back this year, I went, I just can't, I have to leave everything out on the race, on the road. It's, the Dempster Highway, which you might have seen in Ice Road Truckers. That's the road you go up right through, up to Tuktoy. But I did get to the end. It was a skin of my teeth. I got to the end. You might see some photos there. I think I sent you that. I just made it. I don't think I could have done another hour on the road.
We should be clear too, Tim. It's not like the first time you just ran out of puff and, oh, well, I couldn't make it. You had frostbite and all sorts of things, didn't you?
Yeah. I had frostbite on 9 fingers and my nose and my ankle. I could barely walk. So, but I got there. Look, it was tough. It was tough. But I got there, and I don't need to go back. Maybe I'll go back in the summer.
Unbelievable. And how do you prepare for something like that? Like, what's your routine in the lead up? Are you sort of, climbing into the freezer at home doing star jumps, or how do you go about it?
It's funny you should say that. I left Melbourne. I'm based in Melbourne. Left Melbourne one day. It was 38 degrees positive, and I ended up in Whitehorse, which is in the Yukon in Canada. About 24 hours later, and it was negative 25 degrees. But yeah, you know what? It's all about layering and clothing, and it's easy to put clothes on, and you just put more and more layers on, and it's not that bad once you're there. And it took me about 4 or 5 days to acclimatise, and then I was away.
What was the coldest it got while you were there?
probably the finish line, which was negative 38 degrees. It was freezing. And also your body's starting to pack up, and and your body's working so hard to actually warm yourself up. It just gets colder and colder and colder. But yeah, that was pretty uncomfortable.
Well, Tim, congratulations to you, mate. That's just a remarkable achievement. As we say, only a handful of people actually finished the race, and few start it, but even fewer finish it. Tim Hamlin from Nova in Melbourne on the remarkable and gruelling Arctic Ultra Marathon. I like this text, and it takes us into sport neatly, because I must confess, I almost cracked up out loud laughing on 7 News last night when I read the story out. He says, the text says, read with interest in yesterday's Australian, the NRL will open their 2024 season with a game in Sin City, Las Vegas. How nervous would the NRL integrity unit be feeling? Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what could go wrong flying 2 NRL teams for Vegas to start the season, but good luck to them. I think they'll need it.
The NRL.
I just feel sometimes you can just sort of see the storm coming, can't you? Win a corporate box at Adelaide Oval for you and your mates. Visit a Barrow Hotel for more. The biggest story in sport this morning is the Herald Sun reporting the expectation that ahead of the May 9 budget, the Prime Minister will this coming weekend be in Tasmania to announce funding for the 19th AFL team, and the component of which their funding is the Hobart Stadium. The expectation is that there'll be $240 million spent in the budget on that stadium from the federal government. It was a topic of conversation late on the sports show, and some of this started coming out on Monday night.
Now, we know the Apple Isle is after the 19th licence.
Yes.
We do know that there's a shortfall of about $200 million. The federal government, will they, won't they? Will they fund it? How much more will the AFL kick in? Gil McLachlan's waiting. He wants this to be one of his legacies.
Reporting at Win News in Tasmania is a pre-budget announcement's likely to happen sometime within the next week.
Wow.
So we could hear within the next 7 days that the federal government, and this is their reports, will fund that $240 million shortfall required for the Macquarie Point Stadium, which means they will get that total money amount of $715 million to build the new stadium.
So the expectation is that announcement's coming this weekend. 23,000 seat stadium. So this is the breakdown. $240 million from the federal government, $375 million from the state government. The league is chipping in $15 million towards the stadium, so not much on that front. But the AFL will argue that they're committing in $360 million over the next decade, which includes $90 million in game development and $33 million to develop players in 3 new talent academies in Tasmania.
I think
I'm happy for the people of Tassie, before we get to the politics of it all.
Excellent.
Delighted for them. Proper football people.
I think the fact that we had the Greater Western Sydney and the Suns popping up before Tassie was, in hindsight, a pretty big slap in the face to the people of Tasmania who've been...
They were cynical decisions.
I was sitting in a meeting with Andrew Demetriou when he was doing his travelling roadshow extolling the virtues of the second AFL licence in Sydney, and he came to Surrey Hills, sat down in the offices of News Corp to talk to us from the Telegraph and the Australian newspaper and to other people who were involved in it, and he said, the key thing this does, creating GWS, is that, for your Harvey Normans and your Myers and your Coles and your Woolworths and your David Jones, it guarantees these advertisers a televised game in the Sydney market every week.
Yeah.
So you fast forward to round 1 this year when there's what was it, 9,100 people at Blacktown Stadium. That's what a football club designed to satiate advertising demand looks like in terms of audience support and fan support. It's a and that part of Sydney, geographically, culturally, there's 6 NRL teams out there tripping over each other for attention. West Tigers, Parramatta Eels, Canterbury Bulldogs, Penrith Panthers. You go into that market, you're never going to make any headroads. Tassie should have got this years ago. It's going to be great. Does it mean every side has a bye once a week? One side has a bye every week?
I think it will inevitably, yes, because it's an odd number. But that would just take away the mid-season bye with a round where...
Yeah, okay.
Well, we have those rolling buys.
The 3 buys.
Yeah, that's right. So they would go.
Okay.
Should we solve the issue of what the Tasmanian team should be called on 5AA Breakfast this morning?
Well, I think the obvious thing is the Devils, but the Demons would jack up about that. No, Yuri will be on the phone.
You think it could be sort of a prison bar type scenario? Let's ask our listeners, 8223 It's going to happen. It'll be announced ahead of the budget this weekend. Do we have any consensus, any out-the-box ideas? Let us know. You can text us on the Duttons text line as well, 0448 08 1395. There'll be more on that on the Sports Show tonight. Win a corporate box at Adelaide Oval for you and your mates. Visit a Barrow Hotel for more.
If you've got to keep it cool, you need budget car and truck rentals, especially if you're in business. Budget car and truck rentals have a fleet of refrigerated vans, trucks and cool rooms standing by to keep your business in business. Transporting or storing flowers, chocolate and all fresh produces. Keep it cool in a refrigerated van, truck or cool room from Budget Car and Truck Rentals. Oh, great for parties too. Call 13 27 27. That's 13 27 27.
At Orana, we believe everyone should live the life of their choice. That's why we create opportunities for people with disability to live as independently as possible. Our homes are safe, welcoming and above all supportive, where people can learn daily living skills, make friends and get more out of life. We support people with an NDIS plan for a short stay or in their forever home. For independent living, make your home with Orana. Visit oranaonline.com.au. Orana, creating opportunities.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A late shower or two, a high of 28. With the 7:30 news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. terraintamer.com.
Police are investigating the theft of an ATM from St Peter's early this morning. It was stolen from a petrol station on Stevens Terrace around 3:30. Senior Constable Rhett Davis says it was found nearby.
Police were called to a reserve on 4th Avenue at Clemsig after reports of suspicious activity. Patrol was attended and located an ATM on the soccer pitch. The ATM had been forced open and was completely empty.
And police are investigating any links to a stolen RAV4 which was found burnt out on Harvey Street at Nailsworth. GPs will soon be able to prescribe 2 months' supply of common medicines rather than 30 days. But the Pharmacy Guild has hit back at the federal government's proposal, saying it'll lead to severe shortages which could last months. National Vice President Anthony Tassoni says other options have previously failed.
The TGA instructed pharmacies to only give 30-day supply during the COVID pandemic, even if the patient wanted an additional supply due to medicine shortages. And that situation just has not improved now, and it will only get worse.
Politicians from all sides have joined advocates, community and business leaders and academics in signing an open letter calling for substantial increases to the job seeker payments. The letter, spearheaded by ACOS, is urging the Prime Minister to raise unemployment payments to address structural injustice and increase deprivation. ACOS Chief Cassandra Goldie says hundreds of people have signed the letter, including more than a dozen sitting MPs.
As well as many former politicians and some of the leading economists in Australia. This is an unprecedented level of consensus about what's needed in this budget, and we are urging the government to act.
The federal government will spend $4 billion developing a missile manufacturing industry in Australia. It's among the recommendations made in the Defence Strategic Review. The money will be used to fast-track the purchase of long-range strike missiles and have the ability to produce some weapons locally. US President Joe Biden has released a campaign video confirming he's running for re-election as president in 2024. Although he's the oldest president in the country's history, he's asking voters to look past his age and focus on finishing the job he started 2 years ago. In the social media video, he expresses his belief in his country and people.
Because I know America. I know we're good and decent people. I know we're still a country that believes in honesty and respect and treating each other with dignity. That we're a nation where we give hate no safe harbor. We believe that everyone is equal.
American singer, actor and human rights activist Harry Belafonte has died. Georgia Condek reports.
Black banana till the morning come.
Born in 1927, Harry Belafonte was considered the most successful Caribbean-American pop star. He smashed racial barriers in the 1950s with his personal brand of folk music, before becoming a strong force in the civil rights movement. Success as a singer led to the movie offers, and he became the first black actor to make it big in Hollywood. He and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. became lifelong friends, with Belafonte supporting his quest for racial equality. He died of heart failure in his home on the Upper West Side of Manhattan at age 96.
And Prince William has secretly settled a phone hacking claim against Rupert Murdoch's media group. Court documents reveal the future heir to the British throne received a large sum of money in 2020. The papers were revealed in a court case in which his brother, Prince Harry, is suing Mr Murdoch's UK newspaper arm for invasion of privacy. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
It's nearly tax time. Act now for immediate delivery on Mitsubishi Triton from Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Let's start with footy. Collingwood has come back from 28 points down at three-quarter time to beat Essendon by 13 points in their Anzac Day clash in front of a record crowd of more than 95,000 people at the MCG. Bombers coach Brad Scott says their opponents found another gear in the final quarter.
Ran out of gas a little bit and they seemed to stop at a petrol station somewhere. It's just an ideal scenario, of a good example for us that when you play a really good side, they can do things.
Adelaide finishes round 6 in 5th spot. The Crows to train at West Lakes this morning ahead of Sunday's blockbuster against the Pies, while the Power has finished in 7th spot and will also train this morning at Alberton. That's ahead of Friday night's huge match against St Kilda. Much attention on whether Charlie Dixon will return from a knee injury. Let's go to soccer. Aston Villa's dreams of playing European football next season have been strengthened further following a 1-0 win at home against Fulham. The only goal of the game coming in the 21st minute.
Swung in again by McGinn and flicked on! And there is the opening goal from Tyrone Mings for Aston Villa.
Audio there thanks to Optus. The result lifts Villa into 5th, and if they stay there, they'll qualify for the Europa League next season. Two other games this morning with Wolverhampton 2-0 winners against Crystal Palace, while Leeds and Leicester shared the points in a 1-1 draw. And there were two games in the NRL for Anzac Day, with the Sydney Roosters 27 to 26 point winners against the St George Illawarra Dragons, while the Melbourne Storm came from behind to beat the New Zealand Warriors 30 to 22. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now to the traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
At Brunella, got delays from an earlier smash on the Southern Expressway as you're heading outbound. Works are slowing things up today at Paynham Road near Portrush Road. Got a lane out of action at Woodville North, Torrens Road near Lonsdale Street, speeds at 40. With cameras this morning, Sheriffs Road, Lonsdale and McGill Road at McGill. Play the world's biggest lotteries with a lottery office with over 2.2 million Aussie wins from massive international lotteries. Head to lotteryoffice.com.au today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
See any issue firsthand with AutoCam. Real-time video, direct to you from your Automaster's technician.
A late shower or two, a high of 28. A shower easing tomorrow, 23. Showers on Friday, 19. And a shower or two Saturday, 17. At the moment, 23. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Now's the perfect time to try Arbor Vitae, because for 1 week only, get up to 25% off online. Already stocked up on Arbor Vitae? Get in early for presents for the family or for yourself. Arbor Vitae sales are rare, so don't miss out. Head to arborvitae.com.au. That's arborvitae.com.au for 25% off. Or call 1300 879 863.
Who can fix the shower?
Service today.
Who can fix the power?
Service today.
Yes, we can, is what we say at Service Today.
Every time you see our bright yellow trucks in your area, we're helping out your neighbours. We can help you too. So for the best plumbing, electrical, heating and cooling work, call Service Today 24/7.
Can you fix the shower? Yes, we can. Can you fix the power? Yes, we can. Yes, we can, is what we say at Service Today.
Call 1300 Service.
This weekend at Coles, earn double credits towards free MasterChef quality cookware. This means for every $20 you spend in one transaction in store, scan your Flybuys and earn 2 cookware credits. That's value the Australian way, only at Coles. While stocks last, exclusions and T's and C's apply.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Test drive the incredible Cherry Motor 5 today at Cherry Glen Osmond from 33k drive away. Go Cherry.
21 minutes to 8. Great news if you're a football fan in Tasmania. Expectation this weekend that the Prime Minister will be in town to make a pre-budget announcement at the funding of the new Macquarie Point Stadium. The question then turns to what do you call the side? And the texts we've been getting on the Duttons text line, I can be categorised largely as unkind.
Well, there's a tired old joke people make about the old gene pool in Tassie with its small population. We're not going to go down that path, though.
No, there are some good ones, though. But first, let's go to Maddie in Manapara, who's called in. Morning to you, Maddie.
Morning, fellas. How are you?
Good, thanks, Maddie.
I reckon the apple worms.
The apple worms.
The apple worms, yeah.
I mean, you don't want to cross an apple worm, I guess, do you?
Don't want to find one on your apple.
And they can work your way into their heart.
Thank you, Matty.
Someone said they should be called the Granny Smiths. That was Guy in Highgate, says perfect for the apple aisle.
Well, the basketball team got the name the Jack Jumpers, which everyone at first went, oh, sorry, what? And now Jack Jumpers is just a sensational name.
It's an insect.
It's an insect.
Yeah. Nick from McGill says they should be called the Convicts, the Tassie Convicts. Dave M says the Tasmanian Titans. And quite a few along these lines. The new AFL team should be called the Hobart Kangaroos or the Hobart Hawks or the Hobart Demons because we need to get rid of a Melbourne club and send them down there. We don't need more clubs from Melbourne. We need less Melbourne clubs. And Steve says the Tassie team should be called the Tigers because anything that upsets Richmond has to be good for the game. Maybe you could... I like that. What about the Thylacines?
The Thylacines.
Go on, the Thylacines.
Come on.
It's hard to say it out loud, isn't it? With a pie in one hand and a beer in the... Go on, the Thylacines.
Be good if all teams had their animal mascots printed by their Latin scientific name, wouldn't it? That's right. Very, very sophisticated sort of football follower that would produce.
How do you say crow in Latin?
I don't know. You look it up. In the meantime, we're going to go around the courts with Sean Fuster.
It's time to go around the courts with Sean Fuster on 5AA Breakfast.
You can make a difference without getting involved through independent charity Crime Stoppers, supported by Police Credit Union. We had a really shocking crime in the city of Adelaide the last couple of days. A security guard at one of the major malls off of Rundle Mall got stabbed. The case has come before the courts and Sean's been following it. Morning to you, Sean.
Yeah, good morning, guys. It's been a bit of a rough week to kick things off, hasn't it? Friday night last night, someone gets stabbed in the middle of the CBD in a shopping centre that I think pretty much everybody's at least walked through at some point.
Yeah.
Not the sort of thing that you expect, especially on the heels of all that stuff last week with the police commissioner talking about, are the crime stats going down? Are they going up? What's going on there? Very poor timing.
So what have we learned about this case?
So what we've learned so far is that two young people have been arrested, a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old. It's alleged that the 15-year-old used his fists against the security guard and the member of the shopping centre staff that was allegedly menaced in the first place. And it's alleged that the 14-year-old is the one that used the knife. But even that's under dispute because the lawyers for the 14-year-old are saying, the descriptions given by eyewitnesses don't really match our client and it's not really very clear and it's all going to have to go away and be sorted out. So in the meantime, they're just kids. They should all be let out on bail straight away. And the court's not quite buying that just yet.
Well, what's the background to the bail part of the equation in this case, Sean?
So what has to be considered is how long are the young people going to be in custody or in detention, as they call it in the youth court? What effect will that have on any developmental, education, working, psychological or medical conditions that they may have? And whether all of the potential risk to the community can be balanced using methods of keeping these kids, for want of a better term, under control. Here's the problem, though. With the 15-year-old, the older of the two that's alleged to have used his fists, he's familiar to listeners of this show and to readers of The Advertiser. He's the one that's still charged over stabbing that mother through the window of her car when she and her young son were trying to avoid being robbed. You remember that one out of Umley?
Yeah.
So he's already on bail for that sort of offending at the time that he's allegedly involved in this shoplifting that turns ultra-violent. And then the 14-year-old has a long history, apparently, of estreasing or breaching his bail, and a long history, according to the court, of other offending, which instead of him being prosecuted for, has been dropped over concerns that he doesn't have the necessary age and maturity and capacity to understand that all these crimes he's allegedly committing are actually against the law.
See, isn't the problem here that, and look, I totally get that we can't, as a humane society, we can't have a situation where you lock kids up indefinitely when they're still, innocent until proven guilty on charges, and just tell them, well, that's just bad luck. You're going to have to wait inside jail until your case comes up. But the flip side of that is and as we've done now on 2 occasions with this kid who's already on bail for doing something else that was extremely antisocial, there's no way you can say with any confidence that these youths should be entrusted to stay in the community and behave themselves, because the reason they're already doing all these things wrong is that they've got no proper family environment to look after them in the bloody first place. Like, the only reason they're running around doing all this stuff from the grand old age of 11 is that their parents don't give a toss. So who's going to look after them if you put them on bail?
That's right, especially if it's said that they don't have the capacity to understand the wrongdoing of their own alleged actions. I mean, if you don't know you've done something wrong, how are you going to rationalise with any level of maturity that you need to stay inside, turn up to school, go to work, go home and stay there between your curfew hours? If you have a lack of capacity, if you have no impulse control and your mates say, come on, let's go hit the shops, you can't be trusted or can't be relied upon to say, no, fellas, I need to stay inside, the magistrate will tell me off.
Yeah, well, being told off, it's too late for them, really, because they've never been told off.
Yeah. And that's another part of this too. I mean, the courts are doing what they have to do in terms of stopping, and you see the magistrates, they'll have the conversation at the bar table with the lawyers about what's going on, and then they'll turn to the kid, in any case in the youth court, they'll turn to the kid and they'll explain directly to the kid in kid-appropriate language, this is what you have to do, this is what you are allowed to do, this is what you aren't allowed to do, do you understand? And unfortunately, some of these kids have complete blank looks and they just don't understand. Some of these kids smirk and laugh and, basically fob it off straight away there in the court. There are others who take it really seriously, and you can tell how scared they are, how they realise that they've just messed up and they know that they're facing some really serious consequences. So all kids are different. It's just really unfortunate the ones that we see again and again and again in the youth court tend to fall into those first 2 categories.
Yeah.
It's depressing. Bleak. Consider it in the broader context, isn't it? Sean, thank you. Sean Fuster, the Chief Court Reporter of The Advertiser and the host of the excellent Just Lawful program here on 5AA and the award-winning podcast that goes with it. 12 minutes to 8.
The crow's Latin name is Corvus Corax.
Carna Corvus
Corax. Carna Coraxes. Yeah, it doesn't really work.
No, it's harder, isn't it?
Still more coming in on the Duttons text line. Rob says Tassie team name the Fruit Flyers. Anne says they should be called the Cadbury Clinkers. And I quite like this one, the Tassie Salmon.
The salmon.
The salmon.
You don't want to get in between a salmon and whatever a salmon likes.
That's right.
It's not intimidating, a salmon, is it?
Nah, not really. I mean, if you saw a salmon swimming alongside you, you wouldn't panic too much.
No, you're not intimidated by salmon. I like this one by Kay, the Islanders. There's a New York ice hockey team that are called the Islanders. There's
one here says the Hobart Glaciers. You can't call them after Hobart though.
No,
because what were people in Launceston and Strawn and
cheer for someone else?
Orford and is it Zeehan? Is it Zeehan? Zetland. Zetland. That's the town. That's the weird mining town where you can buy a house for about $30,000.
Keep them coming in. We've got a Fruit Shocks mega box to give away. We might give away to our favourite Tassie team name. Visit the Fruit Shock shop, these school holidays, Glynn, McLaren Vale, Harndorf and Tanunda. Brenton Anguston's called in on our Round the Courts a moment ago. Brenton, good morning to you.
Yeah, good day, fellas. Fellas, I'm not picking on you lot in particular, but these kids, that that's a load of garbage, rubbish. If they stab someone, shoplift, take a car, punch someone, they know that's wrong. I don't care whether they're 8-year-olds or 100-year-olds. They know it's wrong.
I don't think you can say that, mate, about an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old. If they've been brought up in a non-loving and derelict family environment where they've never been taught right from wrong, I think their parents are the ones who should have their asses kicked in the first instance, not the kids.
No, I can't agree. I was a hockey coach for 10 years, and I coached right down to under 13s, and all those kids, boys and girls, all those kids, they knew right from wrong.
Yeah, that's because they've been brought up properly.
Not all.
You're talking about
middle
middle-class kids in the Barossa Valley playing hockey is different from kids from totally dysfunctional and impoverished families with no education.
So you're telling me that a young 8-year-old, or some of these are a bit old now, but we'll say 8, you're telling me a young 8-year-old can go and stab a lady through the window?
Yep, I am.
And he doesn't know that that's wrong.
Yes, I am, because they've never been taught that at home. They've seen their own father to the extent that they've got fathers, because so much of this is there's no viable and permanently present male role models inside this family. You're living in la-la land, mate. If you think just because you coached a hockey team in the Barossa Valley that you can make sweeping generalisations about desperately impoverished children who've grown up seeing their own parents beating each other up and taking drugs since they were 3 months old, that's what you get from those families.
That's why this world is where it is. Sorry, I love your show and you fellas, but I just can't agree with that.
Yeah, well, I love you calling too, mate. And, but we don't have to agree about everything.
I think the organised sport element is a nice dividing line here, because I bet none of these kids had parents dropping them off at training.
They don't have parents dropping them off at anything.
No. Let's talk about more ideas for the Tassie team. Valerie's called in. Morning to you, Valerie.
Good morning. How about the Tassie Timberwolves?
The Timberwolves?
The Timberwolves,
yeah. That's
good. Like the Minnesota Timberwolves. Are there Timberwolves in Tasmania?
Oh, well, it sounds good. They're the timber state, and wolves is a more, little bit more aggressive than some of the softies that we've been hearing.
I actually don't know if a Timberwolf is a particular type of wolf or not, but, I like it for the alliteration too, Valerie. I like that one. The Tassie Timberwolves.
Sue in Golden Grove likes the convicts on the basis that they have to argue that they need to wear the prison bars. I think I just heard a small bang from over the border. It was Eddie Maguire's head exploding.
Maybe the AFL should have prison bars round where everyone wears them.
That's a good idea.
Just to smooth things over. Hey, Valerie, let's give you the Fruit Shop's mega gift box. Visit the Fruit Shop shop these school holidays. Glen, McLaren Vale, Harndorf and Tanunda. We're going to check traffic and come back with more, including the start of the rumour file in just a moment. Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. TerrainTamer.com.
Thanks, Will. At Brunello, got a breakdown to look out for. It's on the Southern Expressway. Seeing delays inbound at the moment, just past Sheriff's Road. Also got delays at Woodville North with the lane closed, Torrens Road near Lonsdale Street, and we're pretty sluggish as we speak at Eastwood. So those ongoing works there. A couple lanes out of action, Glen Osmond Road near Fullerton Road. Cameras, McGill Road, McGill, and Gate Streets at Firle. Get any size mattress at the price of a single at 40 weeks, plus earn double Qantas points on purchases. Limited time only. Exclusions and T's and C's apply. 40 weeks, serious about sleep. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Australia's greatest sporting rivalry is back with the 2023 Ampol State of Origin Series. Witness the game's best players square off in the ultimate fight for state pride as two of the greatest coaches, Freddie Fittler and Billy Slater, go head-to-head. The Maroons' dominant performance last year saw them reclaim the shield, so the Blues will be out to deny Queensland another series win. Ampol State of Origin kicks off Wednesday, May 31 at Adelaide Oval. Unreal. Secure your seats today at nrl.com/tickets.
Need a forklift? Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Toyota is the world's #1 forklift brand with a great range of pallet jacks, walkie stackers and reach forklifts right up to their leading Toyota counterbalance forklifts. Legendary reliability and safety with cleaner, greener electric options, Toyota can tailor the right forklift solution for you. It's all part of the Toyota Forklift Advantage. For more, visit toyotamaterialhandling.com.au.
Get a Toyota forklift.
Celebrate Mother's Day with a loved one and entertainment from two of Hollywood's greatest musical stars at the Capri.
I was at the Capri on Friday for school holidays. You just sit in that cinema. Sitting in that theatre of itself is part of the fun. But I tell you what, this makes it even more fun. Doris Day and Frank Sinatra star in the musical romantic comedy Young at Heart with an all-star cast featuring Dorothy Malone and Gig Young.
Doors open at 2, beginning with complimentary afternoon tea in the foyer. Entertainment kicks off at 2:45 with the mighty Wurlitzer organ, followed by a documentary tribute remembering Frank, marking the 25th anniversary of Sinatra's passing and honouring the phenomenal musical legacy he left behind.
This will be followed by Frank Sinatra and Doris Day lighting up the room with a headline screening of Young at Heart.
Celebrate Mother's Day at the Capri Theatre, Sunday 14th of May from 2 p.m. Tickets $20 for adults, $18 for concession. Book now on 8272-1177 or at capri.org.au.
If you need to fix your pipes, call Precise. Call Precise. If your toilet's blocking up, call Precise. Call Precise. If your lights aren't turning on, or your hot water is gone, or a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Precise.
Precise Plumbing and Electrical. Call 1300 700 200. That's 1300 700 200. For fixed price services, call Precise.
For a plumber or an electrician, call Precise. Call Precise.
At Anderson Solicitors, putting people first is second nature. No matter who you are or what your problem is, we are committed to helping find the right solution for you every time. With locations across the state, whether you need help with family law, commercial law, wills and estates or personal injury claims, talk to Andersons today. Visit andersons.com.au or phone 8238 6666. Anderson Solicitors. People first in every case.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
The Cherry Motor 5 offers state-of-the-art driving from 33k drive away. Visit Cherry Glen Osmond.
Three minutes to 8. Time for John Blake. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, Interstate Freight Distribution, Warehousing and Local Adelaide Couriers. Call Aussie Fast on 13 13 64.
And now, Port Adelaide legend and 5AA sports expert Warren Treadray with another tip for real happiness.
If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, Warren Gary Treadray has some advice. Make the most of everything he will define, cause you're not going to hear it on Channel 9.
This is Warren Treadray with another tip for real happiness. I haven't done a happiness tip for quite a while because I haven't necessarily been a completely happy Port Adelaide legend and Premiership captain, four-time All-Australian and AFL Hall of Fame inductee, but now I am. I'm back at 5AA where every now and then you can hear my distinctive laugh which goes, ha ha! The best part is, since my return, I've been making a splash with my controversial comments about Ken Hinkley, making almost every news service right around the country. That makes me happy. And my ongoing shit fight with David Koch. And let's face it, if you're going to pick a fight with someone, always make sure it's the chairman of the board you're trying to get appointed to. I love creating a stir. And you know what really makes me happy about being so controversial? This time, I'm allowed back in the building.
If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, Warren Gary Treadray had some advice. He likes to have a barbecue with friends now and then, but rest assured you won't see Koshy or Ken.
David Koch is actually coming up after 8:30 this morning on the program. I like this. Maddie,
Hopefully he's listening in now.
Maddie has spoken to Valerie's suggestion that Tasmania should be called the Timberwolves. He makes a great point. There aren't any tigers in Richmond, so why not the Timberwolves? Sounds good,
Yeah,
so why not
exactly.
go with it?
Is there a Richmond Tiger?
I don't think there is. Thank you, Maddie. It's an excellent point. The SMEG rumour file is open. If you want to call in right now, you can remain totally anonymous.
We got a mix master today, handheld mixer.
Building or renovating, your first choice should be visiting the SMEG showroom at Debney Distributors. Taste the difference with SMEG. Get calling now. Remain anonymous. Let us know what's really going on out there in Adelaide at the moment.
Please don't hold this against me, but if bi-urban bathrooms and kitchens is not your thing, well, that's
That's okay. I mean, if people gushing over your new kitchen and bathroom means nothing to you, nothing at all, that's completely fine, I guess. But if you do appreciate millimetre-perfect craftsmanship and service of the highest standard, start here. Buyurban.com.au. Adelaide's home renovation experts.
Some builders think a sloping block has limitations. When Beechwood Homes look at a sloping block, they think, the possibilities. Beechwood Homes know how to make the most of a sloping block. In fact, they specialise in them. Beechwood will design a home that works with the land you have, taking full advantage of every square metre. So if you're looking at a sloping block, go for it. Beechwood has your back. Life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. Google Beechwood Adelaide.
Ladies, is the need to wee all the time making your life a misery? Caruso's Wee Less to the rescue. Caruso's Wee Less relieves the annoying and inconvenient feeling that you need to go to the bathroom too often and supports bladder health and function. So if your need to wee all the time is getting in the way of enjoying life, try Caruso's Wee Less today. Caruso's Wee Less is made in Australia, comes with a money-back guarantee and is available from leading pharmacies and health food stores. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A late shower or two, a high of 28. With the 8 o'clock news, I'm Kendall Brantig.
Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. terraintamer.com.
Millions of people will be able to spend less time at the doctor and save hundreds of dollars per year under changes to prescriptions included in the May budget. The federal government's announced GPs will be able to prescribe patients 60 days worth of common medicines rather than 30 days from September. Consumers Health Forum Chief Elizabeth Devenny says the changes will only apply to some medications.
It's unlikely that could be abused in any way if you're taking medicine for your diabetes or your heart disease. What this provides you with is less costs. You don't have to see your GP or travel to your pharmacy as often, and especially in the bush.
Just over $4 billion will be spent fast-tracking Australia's ability to build and operate its own missiles in response to the Defence Strategic Review. It suggests the world's entering the missile age and Australia will be left behind unless we shift our thinking. Defence Minister Richard Marles has told Today the announcement marks a radical change in our defence capabilities.
We'll see a much sooner commencement of manufacturing of missiles in this country and a much sooner purchase of long-range systems, which will see us being able to have missiles that go hundreds of kilometres, where at the moment we're able to send ordnance about 40 kilometres.
An ATM was stolen from a St Peter's petrol station early this morning. Senior Constable Rhett Davis says it was found on a soccer pitch on 4th Avenue at Clemsig.
Witnesses saw a car leaving the area just before police arrived. About 20 minutes later, patrols were called to Harvey Street at Nailsworth over reports of a car on fire. MFS attended it and extinguished the blaze, but the RAV4 was completely destroyed. Inquiries are being made whether there are any links with the stolen ATM.
We're being warned accessing pirated movies and TV shows online could leave us vulnerable to hackers. A survey obtained by The Australian shows 72% of adults who downloaded pirated content in the past year have been hacked, defrauded or had ransomware installed on their devices. It's prompted calls for site blocking laws to be tightened. The US President has confirmed he's running for a second term in 2024. Although he's the oldest president in the country's history, Joe Biden's asking voters to look past his age and focus on finishing the job he started 2 years ago. American singer Harry Belafonte has died from heart failure at his home in Manhattan. He's famous for hits including the Banana Boat song.
Stack banana till the morning come. Daylight come and we want go home.
The beloved artist was also a powerful civil rights activist. He broke racial barriers and stormed the charts in the 1950s. More than $600,000 has been raised for the wife and children of jockey Dean Holland, who was killed following a fall in Victoria. The horse racing community is rallying around the family after the leading jockey's fatal fall on Monday. Court documents from Prince Harry's legal case against the Sun have revealed Prince William has secretly settled a claim against the group. More from Curry-Ann Greenbank.
Well, this case is one of a number of legal battles Prince Harry is fighting against British tabloids, all of them alleging illegal information gathering. But court documents in this case, which is against the Sun and now defunct News of the World, are claiming that Rupert Murdoch's newspaper group made a quiet settlement to Prince William in 2020 over phone hacking allegations. The documents claim Prince William was paid a very large sum, but don't say what that sum was or exactly what it was for. The High Court hearing will run for 3 days.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
It's nearly tax time. Act now for immediate delivery on Mitsubishi Triton from Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. A big day at Alberton as Port Adelaide players hit the track ahead of Friday night's blockbuster against the top-of-the-table St Kilda. The Power will be forced to make at least 3 changes with Todd Marshall out through concussion. Kane Farrell is also injured while skipper Tom Jonas has been suspended. And forward Mitch Georgiades will miss the rest of the season due to an ACL injury suffered in the Sandful. Jonas telling Channel 9 he's still confident the out-of-contract 21-year-old will remain at Port beyond this season.
I mean, he's an absolutely required player at Port Adelaide, and we hope that the culture we've created and the support will show for Mitch to, make him want to stay, and I have no doubt that he's thinking the same thing. He's never shown anything otherwise.
Meantime, Essendon defender Jayden Laverde will undergo scans after suffering a shoulder injury in yesterday's 13-point loss to Collingwood. The win lifts the Pies to second on the ladder. They're only percentage behind the Saints, who finished round 6 on top. One game in the Suncorp Super Netball League with the Sunshine Coast Lightning jumping back into the top 4 following a 65-50 goal win against the Collingwood Magpies. The Adelaide Thunderbirds currently sit in second spot. Rugby Australia will announce a return to surplus today at its annual general meeting. It will also announce its new president, replacing David Cody. 3 games in the English Premier League with Wolverhampton 2-0 winners against Crystal Palace. Aston Villa had a 1-0 win against Fulham, while Leeds and Leicester drew 1-1. To cricket, and in the IPL, it was an ordinary night for the Mumbai Indians, who host several Australians in their side, as they went down by 55 runs to the Gujarat Titans. Cameron Green made 33, but Tim David was out for a duck, while Green, Jason Behrendorff and Riley Meredith were smashed to all parts of the ground. And Supercars legend Craig Lowndes has been named as a recipient of the Australia Post Australian Legends Award. He'll be immortalised on his own postage stamp, unveiled today. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
At Rilla, I got a breakdown on the Southern Expressway. We're seeing heavy delays inbound at the moment, just past Sheriff's Road. Busy right now, Grand Junction Road at Main North Road, also Bryans Road at Grand Junction Road. And we've got works at Woodville North, slowing things up, Torrens Road near Lonsdale Street, space at 40. Cameras, Hallett Road, Stonyfell and McGill Road of McGill. Hungry? Head to a Porto and get the value-packed Bondi Burger box for just $16.95 or grab 5 delicious crispy chicken strips for just $5 for a limited time at a Porto. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
See any issue firsthand with AutoCam. Real-time video, direct to you from your Automaster's technician.
A late shower or two, a high of 28. Showers easing tomorrow, 23. Showers on Friday, 19. And a shower or two Saturday, down to 17. At the moment, 24. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Adelaide Direct Stationers is more than just stationery. We're one of SA's largest suppliers of tech products, washroom products, PPE, workplace health and safety equipment, office furniture, food, snacks, beverages and much more. We have all your office and business needs in one place, with free next day delivery on orders over $50, plus same day 2-hour express delivery. Adelaide Direct Stationers, serving SA's largest businesses and a preferred government supplier. Visit adelaidedirectstationers.com.au.
Hello, Frank Walker from National Tiles. Is your new home or renovation over budget? I guarantee you with National Tiles you'll come in under budget with your floor and wall tiles every time. Here's proof. Modern concrete baseline floor tiles, National Tile's best value price under $25 is 20% below the market. That's right, 20% below the market every day of the year. So smash your budget now with National Tiles. The best value for money tiles in Australia every day of the year.
Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Test drive the incredible Cherry Motor 5 today at Cherry Glen Osmond from 33k drive away. Go Cherry.
9 minutes after 8, coming up this hour on the program, the host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch, will speak with the Chief Executive of Amateur Football here in South Australia, John Kernahan, about the proposal for a concussion passport following the tragic death of young footballer Antonio Liacono over the weekend, who was just tackled, involved in a collision and died in hospital shortly thereafter. So that's coming up after 8:30. If you'd like to be in that conversation, we'd really like to hear your input. 8223 000. You can text us on the Dutton's text line. So many texts about the future of the Tasmanian side, with some clarity this morning around the funding arrangements that will suggest there's now very few hurdles that need to be cleared to get the side up. They're getting some great granular, I think, and sophisticated analysis of the sort of logo that, or the mascot that they should have. I appreciate this one. Someone said there are already 3 feline teams, the Lions, Tigers and the Cats. There are multiple birds, eagles, magpies, crows, swans and hawks. I don't see any issue with the most obvious name, the Tasmanian Devils, based upon the animal rather than the demon, as with Melbourne FC. So there are cats, there are birds.
Well, that's true. No one calls Melbourne
the Devils.
The Devils.
No.
I mean, more people call them the D's than the Demons.
Well, it's about time we had an expansion of sort of, extra-planar beings.
Well, the Tasmanian Devil is correct me if I'm wrong, it's a marsupial, isn't it? So how many marsupial logos are there? There's one. A kangaroo.
We need more marsupials. I think that's where we're at.
There's a rugby league team in Mungandai called the Wombats, up in far northern New South Wales. I can't think of any other. What about quokkas? There's no quokkas in Tassie, though, are there? There's quolls.
Someone sent in
the quolls.
Someone supported their case with a picture of a quoll, which I thought was going above and beyond. Thank you for doing that on the
more marsupial mascots.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. All right, we're going to have breaking at 8 and come back with, in just a moment, a chat with a caller from Monday who had a familial connection to Anzac Day that we wanted to follow up on.
We spent a bit of time over the last couple of days talking to Bill Muirhead, who's South Australia's former Agent General in London. He was terrifically close friends with Barry Humphries. And when we did a breaking at 8 a few years ago, where Barry Humphries wrote that wonderful poem, An Ode to Adelaide, where he declared his undying love for the city. There's some emerging thoughts about how Adelaide is going to honour the memory and legacy of Barry Humphries, who first came to Adelaide as a young man in the 1950s. He performed with the Melbourne University Dramatic Society in a play called The Wind of Heaven by a Welsh playwright, and that started his love affair with Adelaide. He was a director of the Adelaide Cabaret Festival, which was when I sat down and did that interview with him back in 2016. And one of his biggest passions in life was the beautiful Her Majesty's Theatre in Great Street there. When that was redeveloped, he was the patron of it. And talking to some people around town over the last couple of days, there's already an emerging view that when we do honour Barry Humphries, that it would make sense for some sort of, be it a sculpture, some sort of memorial to be created on that quite amply sized forecourt in front of Her Majesty's Theatre, opposite the northern face of the central market there. One idea that I heard too was that the street that runs between the theatre and the excellent Metro Hotel, Pitt Street, which runs north-south between Grote and Franklin. Now, that street is only named Pitt Street because there's a Pitt Street in Sydney, which itself is named after a bloke who happened to be the Prime Minister of Britain at the time when Governor Arthur Phillip was in charge of the new colony of Sydney. There's no uniquely South Australian reason why Pitt Street in Adelaide is called Pitt Street, other than that. Someone said to me the other day, and this is a person who's involved with the Adelaide City Council, that one idea would be to just rename Pitt Street Humphreys Lane, so that we have a permanent street in the city that recognises Humphreys and his love for our city. I reckon it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Bill Muirhead, I think he was only half joking too when he picked up with an idea we first raised on the show. Perhaps given Barry's love of Adelaide, there's an argument that the state funeral could be held here as well. I don't know if that's...
I think the Vic government's already gotten in first.
Yeah, that's right. The other thing too is apparently there's going to be a memorial at Westminster Abbey for Barry Humphreys as well, coming up over the next couple of weeks, which, you know, given that one of the first people who rang him last week when he was ailing was none other than King Charles, even in death, he'll still be able to pull a pretty good crowd, the old Baz, in the country that fell in love with him.
Like that idea, 16 after 8. Let's get across some of the stories that have developed over the course of the morning, starting with the Defence Minister, Richard Marles, who was on the Today Show a short time ago. The big Defence Strategic Review came out on Monday. Huge landmark document, totally changes the way in which the Australian government and governments at all level conceive of the role of our defence forces. It's changing the manner in which defence white papers, how often they come out and things like that. It's revolutionised all that. It's a hugely significant piece of work that's been done that will provide the strategic framework for the defence of Australia for a generation. You're hearing a lot from the Defence Minister at the moment. He's out and about. One of the big components of it was the process by which Australia would now not just purchase long-range missiles to be based on service vessels, but also on land, but also that they'd start to get manufactured here in Australia. Here is Richard Marles on the Today Show.
What we announced on Monday with the Defence Strategic Review was a need for our Defence Force, and particularly our Army, to have a much greater and longer range strike capability. And this is all about having a Defence Force which can project. The language is to hold an adversary at risk further from our shores. We need to give people pause for thought if they seek to project power against Australia, and a longer range strike capability in this day and age is fundamental to that. And so what we're announcing today with a $4.1 billion commitment over the next 4 years is we'll see a much sooner commencement of manufacturing of missiles in this country and a much sooner purchase of long-range systems, which will see us being able to have missiles that go hundreds of kilometres, where at the moment, you know, we're able to send ordnance about 40 kilometres. So this is a radical change to our Defence Force's capability.
One of the big things that comes out of when you read the review is not just the idea that we need to buy new stuff to help defend Australia, because we now face the reality of a multipolar world, and one of them's in our neck of the woods, making noise, but also the idea that we'll be building a lot of this stuff here.
So we're going to start making missiles,
We're going to be starting making missiles here, long-range missiles.
Do we make any missiles at the moment?
Certainly nothing of this scale. I don't think there's any.
What do you do for a crust? Make tomahawks.
Well, we've got BAE Systems and people like that do a lot of work in terms of the technology and some of the componentry and some of the radar systems and so forth that form part of missiles. But I'm not sure if they're, from, what do they call it in food? Head to tail? I don't think we do any head to tail.
Nose to tail.
Nose to tail. That's what it's called. Nose to tail. Not head to tail, because that's cutting the nose off. Any nose to tail development of these sorts of missiles, but I'll stand corrected on that front. An hour ago, we played you the announcement overnight that US President Joe Biden would be running again. No real surprise there, but the announcement was made officially on the 4-year date since he made it the first time around that he'd be running for president. Well, his chief adversary and likely prime ministerial opponent, Donald Trump, has reacted.
There has never been a greater contrast between two successive administrations in all of American history, ours being greatness and theirs being failure.
He's unique. He's vile, but he's...
Well, it cuts through.
He does. He's a brilliant communicator.
There's no flowery language, is there?
You can say that about a lot of people in history, and not all of them are good.
No. Yeah, that's a good point. We started also our news headlines earlier in the morning with the story about there's good news for people that suffer chronic illnesses and have to get scripts and medication regularly. There's going to be a change to the way this works. So doctors are going to be able to prescribe 2 months' worth of medication in a single script.
Won't they make it easier for us to get into the GP as well? Because how much time are GPs just sitting there doing paperwork?
Absolutely. This is going to be announced in the budget that's coming up on the 9th of May. So 6 million Australians will save up to $180 per year on medication. There'll be fewer visits to the GP, fewer visits to the pharmacy. Here's Trent Toomey from the Pharmacy Guild of Australia.
There are over 470 medicines that are just unavailable in Australia at the moment. And my patients, your viewers, will know that when they've been presenting to their local community pharmacy with their prescription, it's unfortunately, we don't have any. So, this is all a bit of smoke and mirrors, unfortunately. Pharmacists are all for a cost of living measure. We've been advocating on behalf of our patients for over a year now to have the co-payment reduced so you pay less when you get something dispensed. But instead of doing that, which would benefit everyone that is on a medicine, the government's decided they're going to increase the amount you can get, which only benefits 1 in 5 people, but it won't even be that because we can't get it. So double nothing is still nothing.
Pharmacies aren't loving it, but that seems like that's a symptom of a different problem. So supply is one thing, but allowing people to get access and freeing up GP spots, I think, is something that it will be welcomed by all, especially those with chronic.
Shortages are really common, and they're common for really simple things like antibiotics. Like I had to go to 3 chemists a few months ago to get antibiotics for one of the kids because they'd all run out.
Yeah.
They get their daily supply and it goes. Crazy. Oxy something. Can't remember what it's called. Oxycillin, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
21 minutes after
See your
8.
doctor if pain persists.
Exactly. That's a very important
Hey,
message.
let's smeg it up, Adelaide.
Yes, we have the Smeg. What is that, a blender? No,
it's
a mixer.
It's a mixer.
Yeah,
It's a mixer. It's
a
got
mixer.
the dough hooks on at the moment, Will.
Oh, okay.
You'll be familiar with them.
I love them.
Give us the tea, Adelaide.
You can see it on the Foodland Supermarkets Facebook and YouTube live stream. Fire Truck Red. I bet it goes fast, that one.
It's got 3 different attachments as well. It's got the beaters if you're making a pav and you need to whip your egg whites. Then it's got your standard sort of beater ones for...
Very pleasing sound hearing those jingle together on the mics.
I feel like I joined the Hare Krishnas.
Yeah.
Like I walk down the mall.
You're in the running if you've got a rumour for us. I can see we've got a rumour on the line. We'll get to that in just a moment. 8223 0000. Building or renovating, your first choice should be visiting the Smeg showroom at Deputy Distributors. Taste the difference with Smeg. Get calling. Remember, you can remain totally anonymous.
Might go out to the tea room and draw a gold stripe on my nose.
I think that'd be excellent. If you do, we'll crack records on the old Foodland Supermarkets Facebook live stream. Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. TerrainTamer.com.
And Brunello got that breakdown on the Southern Expressway. It's still causing a few delays as you're heading inbound. It's just past Sheriff's Road. Busy in a few spots today, including Grand Junction Road at Main North Road, also 5 Ash Drive at Panorama. Got work slowing things up today at Highgate. That's for those who work on Fullerton Road near Crossroad for the intersection upgrade. And we've got cameras Osmond Terrace Norwood and McGill Road at McGill. IKEA is doing what they can to keep things affordable for you with lowered prices and parcel delivery from just $3. Shop online or in-store now at IKEA. Terms and conditions apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Rowie and Timmy G on the 5AA Sports Show.
With us right now is Graham Corns.
It's time the Adelaide Footy Club made a stance. We are not going to play in Tasmania anymore. We've done the hard yards. Send a couple of Melbourne teams to Tasmania. We're not going to play in Alice Springs.
What about Ballarat's the one?
Ballarat's the...
Bloody snows there.
Rowie and Timmy G.
How's that going to go for us when we don't have a South Australian on the commission and now Gill's going to leave?
When did you think you had a choice?
4 p.m. weekdays on 5AA.
Are you deciding between wearing glasses or putting in contacts every day? Why not ditch both and trust Laser Vision SA with SA's longest experience in all laser, LASIK and smile procedures? Dr. Frankel has performed more smile procedures than any other surgeon in Australia. See your options clearly with Laser Vision SA. Whether you are near or far-sighted or have astigmatism, contact Laser Vision SA today and live your best life without the hassle of glasses or contacts.
Did you know you can explore Aldi's catalogue online so you can enjoy our low prices here?
Or even here.
Browse Aldi's online catalogue at aldi.com.au or pick up a printed version in store. Aldi. Good. Different.
When you sign up with some of the big builders, it can be a bit of fanfare. They'll throw everything at you, including the kitchen sink. They might even say, hey, have 2 kitchen sinks. Everything will seem rosy in the beginning until you've got questions. And then, suddenly, it can be hard to find someone to talk to.
Well, you'll never have that problem with the great people at Lamar Homes. Lamar Homes are a quality South Australian builder with absolutely nothing to hide, and they've been around for more than 15 years.
Lamar Homes are all about people, not numbers, so the team at Lamar are always available to answer your questions, even the really tough ones. The other great thing about Lamar Homes is that you can inspect your home at any stage. So even at lock-up, you can head in, have a look, and just make sure you're happy with everything.
And look, some of the big builders aren't really comfortable doing that. Not so Lamar, where they've got nothing to hide. Check out their website, lamarhomes.com.au. Here today, home tomorrow.
Bigger battle, any, meeny, money, mo, and flower. You're the chosen one.
Pick your favourite Kia. From the award-winning Kia Sportage to the street cred delivering Kia Seltos. Or Kia's most powerful car ever, the all-electric EV6 GT. Book a test drive today to find your chosen one. Find out more at kia.com.au or drop into your nearest Kia dealer.
Kia, movement that inspires.
9 News is made in Adelaide for Adelaide.
And has been since 1959.
I'm Kate Collins.
And I'm Brenton Raglas. Join us for 9 News tonight at 6.
Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
The Cherry Motor 5 offers state-of-the-art driving from 33k drive away. Visit Cherry Glen Osmond.
25 minutes after 8, David Koch not too far away. We were speaking with John Kernahan from amateur footy here in South Australia too about the concept of the concussion passport following the death of a 20-year-old in a game in the Hills over the weekend. First, wanted to reflect a bit on Anzac Day. We had a terrific call from Libby, a listener on Monday, who was talking about the fact that it would be a significant one for her and her family because it would be the first Anzac Day in which her 100-year-old father marched. Libby, good morning to you. Thanks for chatting with us again. How did it all go yesterday?
Not a problem. Oh, he had a wonderful day. Everything went perfectly. So, yeah, he left here about 8:30, went into the march and got in, I think it was the Blue Austin, and did the parade. Yeah, he had a great time.
How did he find it emotional, Libby? Because he'd never done it before, had he?
No, we used to live in Port Augusta, and he has marched a couple of times in Port Augusta. Yeah, he was just chuffed. He was just pleased that he did it.
That's terrific. And the whole family, were you able to get along as well?
Well, we went to dawn service and then we came home to our place and watched it on TV.
Fantastic. It must have been such a great moment of pride for your whole family.
Oh, and it always is, Dave. Anzac Day is very emotional for us all.
Yeah.
Libby, from memory, he was a gunner on a Lancaster, is that right?
Yeah, a rear gunner in Lancaster. He did 36 missions, and he went over when he was 19.
Are any of his members of his squadron still around?
Just one.
Oh, wow.
That we know, just one that we know of, or that he knows of. There's probably more, but he's befriended a man in Newcastle, and they ring each other once a week.
Oh, that's lovely.
Keep in touch.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you know if the chap in Newcastle, did he manage to march there in New South Wales?
No, he's not that well at the moment, so he couldn't march. But they talked last night on the phone, so that was also good.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Libby, thank you for chatting with us again. We really wanted to hear how that all transpired for you and the family.
Yeah, no, it was a lovely day.
Good. We're glad to
you,
hear
Libby.
it, Libby. Thank you.
Send your dad our best as well.
Yeah,
Thank him for sharing the story through you.
Absolutely.
I love this one about the Tassie sides. From Ben, the Tassie AFL team should be named after the most fearsome Tasmanian of all, the Lambies.
Oh. Come on, the Jackies. The Lambies.
The Lambies. The Tassie Lambies.
Terrifying.
It sounds good, though, doesn't it?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Geez, we've got the Lambies coming up this
Oh,
weekend.
I know,
They've
the
won
Lambies.
4 in a row. They're savage.
Oh, they're psychotic.
Okay, we got this, the whatever that thing is to give away, the Smeg, I don't know, it's got
It's a
dough
mixer,
hooks
Will.
mixer, that's the one.
Oh, my
Building or
God.
renovating, your first choice should be visiting the Smeg showroom at Deputy Distributors. Taste difference with Smeg. Obviously, you're not a golfer. Water Bottle is called in. Morning to you, Water Bottle.
Oh, good morning, guys. How are you going?
Good, thanks.
Very well, thank you.
WB?
Yeah, good. Hey, you guys were probably down the golf on the weekend. I'm not sure if you heard the DJ playing, Fisher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, he was paid $750,000 for his 1 to 2 hours work.
What? I would have done it for half that. I've done a couple of sets at the Metro Hotel.
It was paid by Live Golf, apparently, not the government.
$750,000.
$750,000, apparently. Yeah.
Wow.
Not bad for 2 hours work.
Did we pay for that, or did Live pay for that? Live pay for that.
Live Golf, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah.
They've got and it's a bottomless pit of money that.
Well, all that infrastructure there, or even down to the glass balustrading on those temporary bars, all of that was done by Live purely for the 4 years that it's going to be here. All
amazing
bespoke
sum of money, isn't it?
To fit on the exact part of the Grange golf course. They went, no, this is how long it needs to be. This is where it's going to go.
I wonder how many parents have told their kids, don't get into DJing. I mean, you need to get yourself a real job. $750,000. Sam Dado, our producer, made the point that they flew him out and back to Coachella as well. So I wonder if that $750 contains.
What's Coachella? Is that festival thing?
Yeah, some music.
Which
thing.
all the influencer wangers go to. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
5AA News is coming up. Koshy in just a moment.
5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide tech guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Wearable tech is a fantastic way to enhance your health and fitness routine and hold yourself accountable. The Fitbit Versa 3 is one of the most reliable smartwatches in the game. It's packed with health and fitness features like 24/7 heart rate tracking, sleep management tools, and built-in GPS. Plus, you can receive smartphone notifications and control Spotify when your phone is nearby, and it's water resistant up to 50 metres. It's super easy to use, making the perfect Mother's Day gift for health-conscious or tech-savvy mums. And just in time for Mother's Day, Harvey Norman have a great offer on the Fitbit Versa 3. Save $100 off the recommended retail price and get it for an incredible $198 in black, midnight or pink. This fantastic offer starts Thursday and ends May the 17th.
Check out this great offer at a Harvey Norman store near you.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A late shower or two, a high of 28. With the 8:30 news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. terraintamer.com.
A stolen ATM was found on a soccer pitch at Clemzig early this morning. Police were called to a reserve on 4th Avenue around 4:40 after reports of suspicious behaviour. Senior Constable Rhett Davis says the ATM had been forced open and was completely empty.
Just before 6 a.m. this morning, police were called to a petrol station on Stevens Terrace at St Peter's after an employee arrived at work to discover their business had been broken into and an ATM had been stolen. The ATM was stolen about 3:30 a.m.
A stolen RAV4 was found burnt out on Harvey Street at Nailsworth during the morning. Police are investigating whether there are any links to the stolen ATM. Pharmacists say millions of patients will suffer if GPs are allowed to prescribe 2 months' supply of common medicines. They're concerned making the medicines more accessible will lead to shortages and hoarding. Pharmacy Guild National Vice President Anthony Tassoni says they want to work with the government to find a better solution.
It needs to be planned carefully. It needs to be phased in slowly. It needs to be planned with the stakeholders and the industry to carefully manage how it's going to be implemented. But none of that's happening if we're going to rush it and patients are worse off.
Australia will start manufacturing its own missiles as part of a push to modernise our defence capabilities. Here's Michael Packy.
The Defence Strategic Review says the world is entering the missile age and Australia will be left behind unless we shift our thinking. The review highlights China's military build-up and the threat it poses to our country. Today, the federal government will announce a $4 billion plan to invest in long-range missiles and establish facilities to manufacture some weapons and their components locally. The shift means the Army's missile strike range will increase from the current 40 kilometres to as much as 500 kilometres.
Australians who've downloaded pirated movies and TV shows are more vulnerable to cyber attacks. A survey's found 21% of adults have downloaded illegal content in the past year. Of those, 72% were hacked, defrauded or had viruses installed on their devices. US President Joe Biden's formally announced he'll be seeking a second term. Here's US correspondent Alison Petrowski.
Let me finish the job. That is the message from the US President, releasing a 2024 campaign video warning that American freedoms are under threat from MAGA extremists.
Dictating what healthcare decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote.
The announcement sets up an election rematch between Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, even though polls indicate voters don't want either to be the chosen candidates for the next election. Already the oldest sitting president, Biden is 82 years old. He would be 86 at the end of a potential second term.
Entertainer and human rights activist Harry Belafonte has died in his Manhattan home. Born in 1927, he broke racial barriers, stormed the charts in the 1950s and became the first black actor to make it big in Hollywood. Entertainment reporter Peter Ford says he was extremely talented.
He wanted to be an actor, and because he was an actor, but he studied it with Marlon Brando. But then at night, just to keep some money coming in, he'd go out and perform in folk clubs and jazz clubs in New York. And so he sort of became as skilled as a singer.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
It's nearly tax time. Act now for immediate delivery on Mitsubishi Triton from Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Adelaide's players will hit the training track this morning ahead of Sunday's blockbuster against Collingwood at Adelaide Oval. Darcy Fogarty is still riding the high of booting the winning goal against Hawthorn. He and veteran Taylor Walker booted 7 goals between them, and Fogarty told Channel 9 he relishes playing alongside Walker.
I love playing with Tex, and he's probably my favourite player to play alongside.
The Crows will now turn their attention to the Red Hot Pies, who came from 28 points down to beat Essendon. That was by 13 points in yesterday's Anzac Day thriller at the MCG. Nick Dacos says some words of wisdom from his dad. 250-game legend Collingwood great Peter helped him stay focused. The 20-year-old claimed the Anzac Day medal, collecting 40 touches and 2 goals in that win.
During the week, Dad actually grabbed me for a chat, which was really nice, and he said, you know, as long as you're pleasing yourself and the club, they're the only 2 things you need to focus on. So that meant a lot to me, and yeah, I'm very grateful for him for that.
To cricket now, Ajinkya Rahane has been included in India's squad for the World Test Championship final against Australia. The 34-year-old hasn't played a test match since January last year. Tottenham's players have offered to reimburse fans who travelled to see their embarrassing 6-1 loss against Newcastle on the weekend in the Premier League. That result saw interim manager Christian Stellini sacked after only 29 days in the job. Formula One has tweaked its sprint races for next season. They'll no longer be used as qualifying for the main Grand Prix. And the UK's Culture Secretary says all Russian and Belarusian athletes who receive state funding must remain excluded from international sport. Last month, the International Olympic Committee recommended athletes from those countries be allowed to compete under a neutral flag. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Worried about cheap insurance? Who offers great value cover you won't regret? Amy does. Before buying insurance issued by Amy, read the PDS and TMD at amy.com.au and consider whether it's right for you.
At Brunel, got a breakdown on the Southern Expressway. We're seeing delays heading inbound at the moment, just past Sheriff's Road. Busy right now, 5S Drive at Panorama, also South Road to the Anzac Highway intersection. Got works at West Beach, slowing things up today. Tapless Hill Road near West Beach Road, down to 60. And we've got cameras, Baines Road on Cabringa Hills and Cherry Gardens Road at Cherry Gardens. Skoda's 777 is their complimentary 7-year servicing and 7-year roadside assist with their included 7-year warranty. Curious? Visit your Skoda dealer today. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
See any issue firsthand with AutoCam. Real-time video, direct to you from your Automasters technician.
A late shower or two and 28. Showers easing tomorrow, 23. Showers on Friday, 19. And a shower or two Saturday, down to 17. At the moment, 24. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Seeing the world starts with Virgin Australia. Earn Velocity points when you fly to destinations around the world with Virgin Australia and our network of world-class airline partners, including Qatar Airways, United Airlines and Singapore Airlines. So book now at virginaustralia.com. Bring on the world and bring on wonderful. Velocity membership and airline T's and C's apply.
After more than 10 years, Harry Connick Jr. is back, performing live in Adelaide. December 5 at the Festival Theatre. Don't miss Harry Connick Jr. live with his band, showcasing his New Orleans musical influences and songs from across his remarkable career. Tickets on sale now at Ticketek. Tour details at tegdainty.com.
Go Vita, your local health food shops. Over 30 years health and wellness experience and over 300 natural health practitioners specialising in you.
Hi, I'm Wayne from Go Vita Mount Barker. This month we have a great offer on Fusion Astra 8 with astragalus, a traditional ingredients in Chinese medicine. Save up to 35% off 60 tablets, now $33.95, and 200ml liquid, only $37.95. Always read the label, follow directions for use.
Go Vita, Colonnades, Fairview Green, Marion, Mount Barker, Monopara, Semaphore and Tanunda.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Test drive the incredible Cherry Motor 5 today at Cherry Glen Osmond from 33k drive away. Go Cherry.
20 to 9. Host of Channel 7 Sunrise program, David Koch, coming up in a moment. We'll go behind closed doors also. The saddest and most tragic story, one of them in South Australia over the last few days, has come from the world of local football, where young Antonio Loiacono was knocked unconscious when he was tackled during the final quarter of a match in the Adelaide Hills. He suffered cardiac arrest and was declared brain dead later when he went to hospital. It's led to a conversation now about the concept of a concussion passport in the Adelaide Football League. It's a concept that was being pioneered by former player agent Peter Jess, who's been saying we needed something like this for a long, long time. It sounds like he's got a sympathetic ear now in the chief executive of the Adelaide Footy League, our next guest, John Kernahan. John, good morning to you.
Thanks, Will, and thanks, David.
So, John, I guess the thing, there's now so much evidence that one of the key problems with concussion is accumulation. Like, they don't all have to be these monstrous knocks, but if you've been belted around even a few times, it can become a huge health issue. But I guess having visibility over how many times a guy or a female player has been hit is the key.
Well, the visibility of it is the key issue in that, and I guess the passport would offer some qualified evidence as to whether it's been clear. Let's break it down from the technical jargon that, for example, Jess was using yesterday, in that disclosure or non-disclosure at whatever level of diagnosis has been from a medico. That's the key issue. So our challenge, A, is getting people interested. The most unfortunate dynamic that we have today is that it has taken the loss of a young man's life for people to get some interest in it. And that's no different than any other. I get it. That's no different than anything else, whether it be a drink driving thing. But let's be really respectful that there's a family that's lost a son and a brother. So, we need to be conscious of that. But at the same time, it also highlights, and this is in no way a suggestion that this is relevant to their situation, because it's not anything I'm aware of, is getting young people to understand the dangers of concussion, getting young people to disclose that information. And if a passport offers that, and my immediate response to the passport isn't just about concussion, it's about a whole raft of conditions, whether they be knee injuries or ankles or mental health or drug and alcohol dependence. What we're getting to here is getting to a situation as well, aside from the key issue, which is concussion, we're moving into a really litigious environment where our own volunteers need to have some assurances that they are being protected from an ongoing action.
Yeah, for sure. Because you can easily see a set of circumstances where someone turns around and says, well, hang on, you had a duty of care as a football club to know that my son was going to be placed in a difficult position. Whereas at the moment, you guys are saying, we don't necessarily know where this guy has played prior, how many times he's been hit, or even if he had ever been hit playing for another club.
Exactly. And let's use I mean, Peter Jess was talking, I presume, and I'm not speaking for Peter Jess, but a lot of his rhetoric in the last few years has been around elite football clubs, of which there are 18. Those clubs are really well resourced, and even on the back of being really, really well resourced, we still have a situation like we did 3 weeks ago, and that sickening images of Paddy McCartan falling over. So how do you think, to coin a phrase from your afternoon drive time host, how do you think Benny Barbecue is doing it in the afternoon on a Saturday?
Yeah.
Right across the nation, with young men and women who don't even identify as it being a risk. And then we end up with unfortunate situations and tragic circumstances like we have on the weekend.
And also, mate, as I said before, for pretenders like me who coached a primary school football team selected on the basis of availability rather than ability, I had no medical know-how for any of that stuff. And there's heaps of people like me who are coaching sides because they're free and it suits their hours and they want to have a bit of a crack, who are not even remotely equipped to deal with these things.
Absolutely. So now we're getting to a wider part of the issue, that if we're short on volunteers as it is, and if we don't provide assurances that they can also operate in this space free of any risks around the concussion, even if they're not affected directly themselves, we're going to lose volunteers as well. So we'll lose players if they don't start to address the priority towards concussion. We're going to lose volunteers because the whole space will become a really frightening one for them. And we end up with a self-fulfilling prophecy that we end up with a declining participation rate on the field and off the field.
So, John, how do you see this working in practice then? So we have a form of concussion passport. I'm playing for the Flinders Park D grade, and I've had my 3rd concussion this year that the league is now aware of. What happens next?
Well, the mechanics of this, I mean, I've been aware of this discussion for some time, and in fact, but again, a point that I made earlier in this chat is that it's become a higher, with a greater intensity level of priority in the last 72 hours. So, we still need to accept, and my argument will be as this discussion goes forward, that the responsibility must still be on the participant, and it must be on the disclosure of the information, of that integrity now, or the integrity of that information. If they choose not to disclose that, I would argue that abrogates the responsibility of anyone putting on a game of footy. I mean, David just used that as an example. Him just wanting to play footy, or him just wanting to coach. He doesn't want to be a medico. Yeah. It needs to be the responsibility of the participant to maintain those records. Now, the mechanics of it as to how it would go forward, if they don't provide a passport in the short term, do they play? I don't know. We haven't even got to that. What I can say is that we've been working on concussion, or working in this space, for a long time. And when I say a long time, 3 or 4 years. Keith Thomas, who you would remember, former CEO of Port Adelaide and Norwood Champion, he's head of an organisation called Spark, or Sport and Real Knowledge. Now, we've been dealing with Keith for some time. He's local, and that organisation comes out of the UCLA as well. Whilst we were aware of this functionality, the program that he has with us also allows real-time tracking of concussion management. So all these things will play out. What we're going to have to rely on now, unfortunately, and I say that, is whilst there is a full head of steam and everyone's got an interest in it, we need to grab hold of it and run with it. Because we don't want another young man or woman losing their lives.
Yeah, 100%. Good on you, John. John Kernahan, the Chief Executive of the Adelaide Football League. Always great to catch up with you.
12 minutes to 9. We're going to check traffic, come back with Koshy and Behind Closed Doors in just a moment. Terrain Tamer Parabolic Leaf Springs for a comfortable ride in your four-wheel drive. TerrainTamer.com.
Thanks, Will. No great dramas for the drive-in today. However, busy in a few spots to look out for, including Brian's Road at Green Junction Road. Also the Southern Expressway at the Alice Road off-ramp. Got works at West Beach, slowing things up today. Tapley's Hill Road near West Beach Road. Got a lane out of action at Woodville North, Torrens Road near Lonsdale Streets. And we've got cameras Gage Street, Firle, and Hallett Road at Stonyfell. Check out the Ford Puma Drive Best Light SUV 3 years running right now. Drive a winner only at your local Ford dealer. See Ford.com.au for details. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
You've decided to build? It's exciting stuff. When you've found land, it's a good idea to get advice on what you can build on your new parcel of paradise. Get Steve from Beechwood Homes to take a look. There's no obligation, and you'll get a great understanding of what's possible. Sloping block, flat block, weird shaped block, or block on a cliff. Speak with Steve from Beechwood Homes for all the possibilities. Life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. Google Beechwood Adelaide.
Whether you're a Sparky, a Chippy, a Fiery or a Bikey. Whether they call you Curly, Tubby or Tiny. Whether next door means a few feet or a few miles. We know the weather's harsh in South Australia. But Olympic Industries carports, verandas and sheds are tougher than most. And if they're strong enough in the country, they'll be strong enough in the city. Some say strong as an ox, others say hard as nails. We just say built to last. Olympic Industries.
Well, it's been a tough few years for businesses, but now's the time to think growth.
If you're running a business, you're invited to join MGK Accountants for their free business development workshops. This is your opportunity to build connections with other business decision makers at a similar scale and walk away with something you didn't already know.
MGK Accountants can help set you up with effective measurement tools so you can make informed decisions about the future of your business and build a sustainable growth strategy, just like they did for our great friends at McGain Real Estate.
They'll also help you to account for one of the biggest expenses of all, your time.
So join MGK Accountants for their free business development workshop. The first one's at Christie's Beach on May 3, then at the Lion Hotel on May 4. Seats are limited, so search MGK Accountants online to register today.
Every week, all sorts of people do all sorts of things for Meals on Wheels.
I help out in the office, admin stuff.
Yeah, my wife and I drive and deliver food, and I help organise the orders.
I organise lunch and coffee catch-ups for customers.
If you've got a bit of time on your hands, we could do with you.
I was new in town and it gave me a chance to meet people and do something worthwhile.
So what can you do? Go to mealsonwheelssa.org.au. Meals on Wheels. Great food, great people.
On Holland America Line, we take the time to get to know you, to take it all in and live in the moment, while we tend to every little detail of everywhere you want to go. On our ships, that all adds up to one thing, the time of your life. Book now and receive up to 25% off, plus up to $150 onboard credit per person. Sale ends May 4, 2023. T's and C's apply. Visit hollandamerica.com or see your travel advisor today.
Breakfast on 5AA. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
The Cherry Motor 5 offers state-of-the-art driving from 33k drive away. Visit Cherry Glen Osmond.
David Kosh on 5AA Breakfast.
It's 8 minutes to 9. Koshy, good morning to you.
Good morning, James.
So, news out of the Herald Sun, Victoria this morning. Sounds like the Prime Minister will be making a pre-budget announcement about the funding for the stadium in Tasmania, clearing one of the couple of remaining hurdles for a new team for Tas in the AFL. The other one is that all the clubs, or at least a majority of the clubs, sign off on the deal. Where are you guys sitting with the extra licence in Tassie?
Look, we've always said, from a club and board point of view, that we would love a team from Tasmania in the competition. Look, every club is a not-for-profit. We're community clubs. We're community-based. And our objective should be to grow the game and embrace more of the community. If states want to come in with a team, we should give them the best shot at doing it. But as the premier sport in the country, there are standards that need to be achieved to get into a competition like ours, which reflects a respect to players and spectators that they watch our game, Australia's Indigenous game, the premier sport in Australia, in world-class facilities like Adelaide Oval, like Optus Stadium. So the entree card to get in to the premier football code in Australia is you've got to have facilities that match that. And a stadium was an important part of it. And Now, I know there's a big political furor in Tasmania about the cost of the stadium, as there was with the cost of redeveloping Adelaide Oval. But I think all sides of politics in South Australia acknowledge it, that it has been one of the best infrastructure spends the state has done in decades, because it just adds to the economy. It changes cities. It brings in tourists, which are incredibly powerful.
Do you think any of the Victorian clubs have got an issue with Tassie getting the licence, though?
Oh, I think there are some clubs that there's a big discussion, to be honest, amongst presidents on whether Tassie can afford the stadium, afford to run a new stadium. My view is that that's not our issue as clubs. That's up for the state of Tasmania to do it. We're just going to be tenants at the new stadium, and I think it's a bit disrespectful to the state to say, oh, they can't afford a new stadium, and how are they going to pay for it? How are they going to make it pay? Well, just like South Australia has made and Western Australia has made Optus and Adelaide Oval pay, and the tourist industry and the hospitality industry are over the moon about those two infrastructure. It will be the same with Tasmania, because so many AFL fans pencil in an away game. So many will be doing it to Tasmania to follow their team.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, speaking of tourism, as we came out of Gather Round and then slid happily into Live Weekend, Dave, as a Sydney resident who still calls South Australia home, how do you think we've changed the perception of SA over the course of the last fortnight?
Enormously. Everyone is talking about it interstate, and those who visit it are raving and will come back. My 14-year-old grandson, his team in Sydney did a footy trip to Adelaide to gather around, played Port Districts, and talking to the parents of those players, 75% of them had never been to Adelaide, blown away with how good it is, and are planning when to come back. It's the ripple effect, the impact is just going to be enormous. And not that South Australia needs to justify itself to the eastern states, but just the power of the eastern states and sheer volume of people that will come and visit now will just be a buzz for the entire state, and everyone in South Australia will benefit from it.
Absolutely. David Koch, the host of Sunrise on Channel 7. We hear him every week on the 5AA Breakfast Show. Good on you, mate. We'll chat again next Wednesday.
All right, thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions. Interstate freight, distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64. It's behind closed doors.
And when we get behind closed...
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
And welcome along to 5AA Breakfast. And the sad news over the weekend, the passing of Barry Humphries. And a little bit later in the show, we'll be replaying an interview that you, David Penberthy, did with Barry Humphries.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning, Will, and good morning, listeners. I did the interview in 2016, and he was very grateful to me that I referred to him as Mr. Humphries and not Barry, it was a gesture for which he was extremely and warmly grateful, because I always work on the basis that if people are significantly older than you, then you call them by their honorific.
Oh, yeah, it's a basic mark of respect to call them Mr.
That's right. And also because his management company told me I had to call him Mr.
Oh, right.
And also not to call him mate.
Oh, okay.
And so I didn't call him mate either.
No.
Because I showed him such overwhelming respect.
Of course, yeah.
And because his management company told me not to.
Yes.
But I found him to be a warm and fabulous man, very granular.
Was he, David? Granular?
Yeah, and of course I'm using that in a different context to the stuff I put in the Rainwise pool at home.
Yes.
But he was a very good watercolour painter, which is something a lot of people don't know about Humphries.
Who's that, David?
Humphries. A lot of people don't know that about him.
I thought it was Mr. Humphries.
Oh, no, that's only when you're interviewing them.
Right.
And when they're alive.
Yes, and of course when their management company tells you that you have to call them Mr.
Yeah,
very funny. Fuel Watch to take us out today. Thanks to RAA, helping you every day to keep on moving on. Couple of cheap spots. United Adelaide Airport, $1.73.5. The OTR South Road St Mary's, $1.72.5. The Ampol North East Road Modbury, $1.72.5. The cheapest diesel, the United May North Road Paraka, $1.75.9. The the SMEG mixer goes to Water Bottle, building or renovating. Your first choice, you'll be visiting the SMEG showroom at Debney Distributors. Taste the difference with SMEG. Stick around, Matt Pantelis is coming up.
On 5AA mornings, fewer trips to the doctor with a plan to allow GPs to prescribe more doses of some medications per visit, and calls for the federal government to raise the job seeker rate. I'm Matthew Pantelis. Join me from 9.